Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I know I'm late. I'm like 20 minutes late. It happens, and maybe someday I'll tell you why I'm 20 minutes late this morning. Maybe we'll go down that road. Oh, it is Monday. It is. Like, it's confirmed that this is a Monday morning. Yeah, well, the jury's still out on whether or not I'm okay, Dizzy. The jury's still out, but I'm here. I made it finally 20 minutes late. Good morning, Salty.
Good morning. I'm glad you're okay. We were all like, where's he at? Let me send out the bat signal here. I tried every avenue. I figured you got pulled away. I mean, it happens. It is what, real life calls and things happen. So,
Yeah, I think they call it circumstances beyond my control, but
oh, yeah, it happens. It's happened to me. I've had to push back lives before without it, last minute without expecting it. But anyway, so you feeling better though with your cold you had?
yeah, we're doing all right. We're doing all
Good.
right.
I got my grandson home today. My son came in my room like at 6 a.m. and with a thermometer in his hand, I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "He's got a fever of 101.5. I'm gonna rush him to the hospital." I was like, "No, you're not." So I got up and got him his ibuprofen, and fever broke in no time, back down to normal. And he's had some breakfast, and he's chilling. And yeah, so hopefully it's just a little cold bug. He started crying. He's like, "I think I got that flu." But he
Oh,
feels better
no.
now. Yeah, he feels better now, though.
That's good.
But I'm here and I'm good to go. Good morning, chat. How are you guys?
Hey,
Let's see.
Trace
We
on the
had some.
good to see
Yeah.
you. Trace is in here.
Yep. Good morning, Rebecca.
857, Lindsay. Good to see everybody in here.
Familiar faces. Welcome in, everybody. We appreciate you coming in this morning.
Lindsay, yeah, I'm here. I'm finally here. Like, what a Monday morning. What a way to start off Monday morning. Like, and I didn't even like get all that excited about the big game yesterday. I mean, I watched it obviously, and I made a couple of bets on it. I won one of them.
Uh-oh.
The only bet that I won was at halftime. They were still letting you bet on the spread, and I was like, yeah, we're going over. No, it was the over under. I bet the over under. Yeah. So it was 24-0 at halftime, and the over under at halftime was 46.5. And I'm like, we're totally going over 46.5. So it was a wash for me.
I didn't watch it. I didn't even know who won until this morning, and I found out by accident on YouTube. I'm like, whatever. Couldn't tell you nothing about the foosball, and I get that from what's that movie, Waterboy or whatever,
Yep.
and his mom always called it the foosball, the devil's game,
Yep.
or whatever.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Did Taylor Swift really get booed? I don't know. I hope not. My daughter might cry.
Oh,
She might
she
get
did.
pissed. She
Oh, she
did.
did. She
Why?
did.
That's so silly. Adults are silly.
We're crazy.
Why boo the
Silly.
man's girlfriend? Because she's pretty and rich and famous and can sing her ass off and can write music like nobody's business. What's the problem with her?
Because it becomes a political football. It became a political. Ooh, look there. I went there. It became
Why they bring political into football? It's bad enough they slap asses.
Good game.
Man, why we got to bring politics into every damn thing?
We do. We just
Stay
can't
out of
help
it.
ourselves.
You know what? I feel like if you're a musician, you might not want to kill your career by getting involved in anything political.
but she hasn't. She hasn't. Other
She
people
really
have been
hasn't.
political.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Anyway,
daughter is a huge Swiftie, so yeah.
so I'll play the Reuters article first. I mean, just because it's news and it's a short bit, so we can watch that about the Super Bowl, and then we can move on to funner stuff.
Okay.
The Philadelphia Eagles soared to their second Super Bowl victory in franchise history on Sunday. The Birds obliterated the Kansas City Chiefs with a 40-22 blowout win in New Orleans, dashing the Chiefs' hopes of winning 3 consecutive NFL championships in front of a crowd that included pop superstar Taylor Swift and U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump watched the first half before leaving, marking the first time a sitting president had attended a Super Bowl. The Eagles' defense came up big, smothering the Chiefs' creative maestro Patrick Mahomes. On offense, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts led the way, throwing for 2 touchdowns and running for another, and ultimately earning his first Super Bowl MVP award. A 46-yard touchdown pass from Hurts in the second half put the Eagles up 34-0. By the time the Chiefs finally got on the scoreboard late in the third, closing the gap with just over a quarter remaining proved too tall an order. With several minutes still remaining in the fourth, the Eagles were already celebrating on the sideline, dumping Gatorade on head coach Nick Sirianni. With the thumping victory at the Superdome, Philadelphia avenges their Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs in 2023 and secures their second Super Bowl title after winning it in 2018. After the game, Hurts took a moment to reflect on his path to MVP.
Still processing it. You know, it's been a long journey. It's been a journey of ups and downs and highs and lows, and I've always stayed true to it in the end, and having this vision of just being the best that I can be, and that evolving over time into this desire and this flame inside to win. And you don't do great things without the guys around you.
In Philadelphia, fans streamed out into the streets after their revenge against the Chiefs, cheering, waving flares, and sitting on top of street lamps. Halftime entertainment at this year's title showdown came courtesy of rapper Kendrick Lamar. The Los Angeles native took the biggest stage in music and delivered the mega-hit, Grammy-winning diss track Not Like Us, as well as other popular songs from his catalog, with guest appearances by SZA, Samuel L. Jackson, and Serena Williams.
Yeah, so that pretty much hit the highlights of everything that most people are interested in as it pertains to the Super Bowl. I mean,
What about the commercials? Was they any good? And Super Bowl commercials are always like the big deal.
That is. So I was just getting ready to say there's like 2 different kinds of people that watch the Super Bowl. There are the people that watch the Super Bowl for the game, and there are the people that watch the Super Bowl for the commercials and the halftime show. And I'm the former, not the latter. So
The halftime shows to me, or I don't really. I don't watch the game, so I'm not going to tune into halftime. But yeah, the commercials were always something. Like my ex used to watch the Super Bowl, but he really wasn't a football person. But I'd always thought the commercials were cool. I love a good commercial. I don't know why I'm obsessed with good commercials.
Yeah, you remember the Budweiser frog commercials? Oh my gosh, those were the best.
And when I was a little kid, the Clydesdale horses, man, they were the shit.
Yes, yes. But Travis and Taylor were like the big story for social media type people. So I'm going to go ahead and play Travis's post-game interview here. Travis.
Well, yeah, and somebody made a comment too that I picked up on, and I think they may be right, Possum. I think it's because she's friends with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and I had heard. I saw something about that yesterday, but I didn't read it because I don't really care when celebrities get into dogfights with legal stuff about, I don't even know. I kind of know a little bit about it. But yeah, I picked up on people not being happy with her because of her friendship with Blake Lively. That's insane.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I know zero about that. I know nothing about Taylor or her political aspirations or her friends.
Blake Lively has some kind of case pending right now in court. Some kind of not assault, but I guess harassment. I don't know what you call it. Anyway, something I don't really know it's the whole story behind it. But yeah, she's got some kind of beef with some kind of movie producer or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll
Yeah.
look into that on one of these episodes one time, but
Yeah.
not today. We'll
No.
we'll take a look at Travis Kelce's post-game interview. So he's the tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. They won 2 Super Bowls in a row before this year. They were trying for their 3rd in a row. And he, so he's dating Taylor Swift. And they made headlines last year because they kissed after the Super Bowl and it was like super romantic. Oh my gosh. But they didn't kiss this year because he didn't win the Super Bowl.
You know, hats off to the Eagles, man. They got after us. All 3 phases.
What was the difference in the game, do you think, at the end of the day?
Couldn't get it going offensively. I mean, they just got after us on all 3 phases. And then on top of that, you know, turnovers, penalties, playing behind the sticks on offense is just drop passes, not taking advantage of, you know, the play call and executing. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You don't lose like
It's
that
not
without
going to Disneyland.
So.
Nope.
That we haven't played that bad all year.
Did they do anything that surprised you guys at all? Keep everyone going on the sidelines. Was it difficult today?
I mean, just couldn't find that spark, couldn't find that momentum. This team is going to fight till the end forever, and you saw that even with the score late. We're always going to fight.
You talked to some of those guys over there, kind of found the guys you wanted to talk to. What was your message to them?
Congratulations.
I feel like at halftime it was totally within reach.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, never lose doubt, never lose faith in, especially at half.
What was Coach's message to you guys afterwards?
This one's gonna hurt. Let it hurt and figure out how to get better because of it. Have a good one, guys.
That's from Kelsey Swift. So, you know, Kelsey Swift is, anyway. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. There you go. He said all the right things, though. I mean, you can't fault him for that. He said the right things. He said this one's going to hurt.
You know, hats off to the Eagles.
Tonight, a teenage boy.
So that's the light part of what I have planned for today. I mean, Super Bowl. It's you've got people who care about football who are watching it just because they're football fans. You got people watching it for the halftime show. We're not going to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, football's just a big part of pop culture here in America. You know, I don't fault
Exactly.
folks for liking it. I just don't like it. My mom was a football fan. I just never took to it. I just don't care.
It's funny how Taylor and Travis Kelce have transformed it even into more of a pop culture type of thing. Like,
well, yeah, that's because of their famous,
right, exactly.
personas.
Yeah.
High profile romances. Hey, at least she got herself a manly man this time around. And maybe if he don't break her heart, she won't write no songs about him. And they're both equally financially sound. She don't need him for that. So go, girl. If you got you a manly man, who likes them wimpy ass men? I don't. And I think she dated too many of those and wrote a song about every damn one of them. Go, girl.
Oh my gosh, you cracked me up.
I remember her very first song. Oh my God. Tim McGraw was her very first song, Teardrops on My Guitar. And I knew at 15, 16-year-old girl, that girl was going places and she was going to move well beyond country music. And boy, did she. You can't fault her because she's a very talented girl.
Well,
She
you know
really
who
is.
Tim McGraw's dad was, right? Tim McGraw's
Yes, I
dad
do.
was a
Tug
baseball
McGraw.
pitcher. Yes.
He didn't
Was a
know his
Major League
dad for a
Baseball
long
pitcher.
time. He didn't know his dad growing up until he became older and learned who his dad was. And then it took them a while to repair their relationship. And luckily they did before he passed.
Yes.
Yeah, but he didn't know his dad for years.
But it's interesting to me that professional athlete relationship was like there way back in the beginning of her career. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit, switching gears, about a case that's coming up here in Maricopa County, which is also where the Lori Valadebel case is going to be tried beginning the end of March. Let's talk a little bit about Preston Lord and the Gilbert Goons. Preston Lord was a teenager, 16 years old, that went to a Halloween party in the East Valley. So East Valley is southeast of Phoenix. It's Chandler, Mesa, Gilbert, Santan, Queen Creek. This is an area southeast of Phoenix that used to be mostly agricultural, but since like the 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s, became a suburban area where they developed it into single family residential, obviously with all of the commercial properties too associated with that, you know, the grocery stores and Walmarts and Costco's and Sam's Clubs. But he went to a Halloween party on October 28th, 2023, and was beat to death by other teenagers at a Halloween party. And there were 7 minors and adults, or young adults, charged in that. And it's a pretty serious case. And it's disturbing, but let's take a little dive into that. And they're the 7 defendants in that are getting ready, or they're scheduled to go to court here in April, I believe. So coming up in the next couple of months. And I think it's relevant because this gang of punk teenagers that did this didn't just do it to him. Like it wasn't just like an off thing that happened at a Halloween party one night.
Boy is dead after attending a Halloween party. His family says he was assaulted. 12 News journalist Gabriela Becerra joins us in studio with what witnesses say happened.
Well, Rachel, a woman living near that Halloween party tells me she doesn't know what was happening inside the party, but outside the neighborhood was filled with chaos as drunk teens jumped over fences, ran through yards, and caused several car accidents.
I guess I'm just angry because it feels so preventable.
Gina Pignatello tells me she was home Saturday night when teenagers filled her usually quiet Queen Creek neighborhood.
We had students falling out of cars. We had kids vomiting in our front yard here. We were trying to take care of teenagers with open alcohol sick.
She learned from the teens she was helping there was a massive Halloween party happening down the street that police had already been to that night.
As I'm on the phone with 911, they say, "Are you calling about the party?" I said, "Yeah, you need to come back. This is getting out of control."
Queen Creek police say they first received a call about a disturbance around 9 o'clock. Officers say a number of teens were leaving the area, but they didn't see any illegal activity, so they left. Police say they responded to a second call about 40 minutes later, where they found a teen lying in the road. They performed CPR and took him to the hospital, where he later died. Family identifies the teen as Preston Lord. They say he was assaulted at that Halloween party.
There was this poor young man kind of wandering the streets, and we were trying to again help kids get Ubers, get home. I stopped him and said, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" He started to cry and said, "I'm just so scared." That was my friend.
Pignatello tells me she believes the party could have been stopped before someone lost their life.
Can't imagine as a parent what that feels like. But to know we were calling for an hour at least, maybe 2 neighbors. Where were the police? Where were the adults? How did this get to continue? How was this so out of control?
If you live near the Queen Creek Ranch Hudson neighborhood, police are requesting to see your surveillance or doorbell camera video. They're also asking that if you or your kids have any information about this party, to give them a call. In studio, Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
Gabriela.
So we have a Halloween party, and I'm going to go into Google Earth here in a little bit and show you where the party is. It's East Valley, and it's in a neighborhood that is fairly affluent. I mean, you can tell from the size of the houses and the swimming pools in the backyards. It's fairly affluent.
That's what I was figuring, especially if these kids could afford a ton of alcohol like that.
Yeah.
That was my first thought.
And they had to have been provided it by somebody, right? But
well, all it takes is a 17-year-old to have a 21-year-old friend.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So we don't know who's to blame for that, and I don't think there's ever been any charges associated with that aspect of it, but it's a fairly affluent neighborhood. There's a Halloween party, and somebody gets in a fight at the Halloween party. It seems like maybe things just kind of got out of control, but there are a couple of aspects to this that concern me right off the bat, and that is the fact that the police were called to that area, to that party, 40 minutes before Preston Lord was actually beat to death. And
Dizzy says the parents of the house where the party was, they were fined.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
They needed to be. I mean, where the hell were they? Did you just, you don't realize there's this massive party at your home? Where were you? Were you out of town?
Oh yeah, they knew about it. They knew about it. Whether they were there or they weren't there, they knew about it for sure. I mean, there were dozens of cars parked out in the street, which is why originally police were called, because police are called. The neighbors are like, there's something going on here. And we'll see here in a minute that the teenagers were out of control. Like, they were obviously drunk teenagers. So that's what bothers me about it, is the police showed up and the police determined, hey, there's nothing illegal going on here. We don't see anything. So we're just going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And the multitude of 911 calls that happened that night, the police probably should not have just gone away 40 minutes before this teenager was beat to death.
Yeah, Dizzy saying they were called to a different house and then a domestic disturbance before being called to Preston incident.
Oh, wow.
No, the police were called
area,
to a different party, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm following the comments here. Thanks, Dizzy. She knows some facts of the case. I thought this is not
she does more than I do, right?
Right. Well, that's where your research comes in. But this wasn't the same kid that was found in the street they possibly thought was ran over. I'm thinking of a different case. Okay.
I think so.
I mean, I've heard of this kid, but I haven't followed this case. So.
Okay. All right, Dizzy. I'm glad you're obsessed with it. You know way more than I do. Maybe you should be up here talking about it.
Dizzy, get up there. Drop her the link.
I'm just trying to follow the stories as they come out. And it is a multi-layered, it is a multi-level case.
And look, dude, that's why I spend so much time. I'll look at a story and then I need to know more. So I'll have to start researching. And that's what I usually do on Saturdays, when I'm trying to research up stuff and for different cases and find all the information I can about it. So there's probably a lot of information out there about the case. Like I said, I've followed it a little bit loosely here and there. I've seen bits and pieces, but Dizzy seems to know a lot about it. Dizzy is the wizard of facts, Pokemon says. She's good. All of you guys are great. I mean, really, if Joe and I don't know something, you guys just chime right in and let us know, and we love it.
Absolutely. I'll openly admit when I don't know enough about a case, and I don't know enough about this yet. I'm just trying to present, like, from the mainstream media aspect of it, the articles in order as they come to us. But man, this is a multi-layered case. It's a multi-level case, and having seven different co-defendants is a whole other thing too. Like some of them are juveniles and some of them are adults, but they're all being charged as adults.
Fighting for justice in the death of Preston Lord, the Queen Creek teen killed at a Halloween party. Tonight, the FBI is getting involved. ABC 15's Nicole Gregg live in studio for us with some major investigative updates tonight as well.
Yeah, Katie, Queen Creek police saying today they're using the help of the FBI to assist them, including helping with analysis support, as there are hundreds of tips that have come in and there's a substantial amount of data that must be reviewed. The FBI now offering a reward of up to $10,000 for any information that leads to an arrest and or conviction for those responsible in Preston Lord's death. We first reported he was at a Halloween party where he was brutally assaulted, then died from his injuries. Since then, no arrests have been made despite those hundreds of tips. In a statement today, Queen Creek police saying they want more than just an arrest. They want to ensure those involved are convicted. We spoke with a community advocate, Katie McPherson, who has been asking people to share on social media, light up the night for Preston to bring awareness to his case.
I'm trying to feel equipped and empowered and really just provide everybody with a light forward. That's why I started the Light the Night campaign. And you just feel helpless with over, 100 kids at that party. My own kids were not there, but they could have been there. And a lot of my friends' children were there. So this could have been any one of our kids.
We're told that teens from several high schools in the East Valley were at this party, so police are emphasizing that parents need to talk to their kids, and if they have direct evidence, they need you to come forward. The FBI has a website for tips on this case. It's on your screen right there, fbi.gov/Preston Lord. Katie?
Nicole, thank you. We'll stay on.
Yeah, I just have these videos set to play like back to back, but there were a couple of things there, like they got the FBI involved, which makes sense, but they're asking for people in the area with tips. All right, we'll keep going.
We're in the neighborhood where there is a party going on. We have teenagers jumping our fence. We have watched 2 accidents. They're hitting each other in front of our yard. They're clearly drunk. They have alcohol.
That's the voice of Jenna Pignatello. 5 months later, she still remembers the night of October 28th and the 911 call she made.
It is just continuing to get absolutely out of control.
In her Queen Creek neighborhood, new court documents show a house party spilled out into the streets and eventually turned deadly.
I don't know if they left or they're here. I got out of there as quick as possible so I didn't get hurt. I don't know the people that are here. We don't have any beef with them.
Police say 16-year-old Preston Lord was beaten and later died at the hospital. 7 people are now charged in his death. All 7 have pled not guilty. Pignatello says she didn't know what was happening when she made her 911 call, but knew the situation was out of control on her street.
It's brutal to listen to those. I haven't gotten fully through, but to start with hearing myself and my neighbors saying, someone's going to get hurt. You need to get here. You need to get back here. To then hear those young teenagers trying to save his life.
Pignatello says police were in her neighborhood 30 to 40 minutes before she.
So when she just said that, she mentioned the teenagers that were there that were trying to save his life. Apparently there were teenagers, I don't know if it was that party or another party, but they had like some type of CPR training. They were lifeguards. I don't know if it was at a local public pool or whatever, but they performed CPR on him and tried to save his life. And he actually did survive for, I think, a couple of days after the incident because they administered CPR immediately on the scene. So that's kind of like a bittersweet aspect to the story. Like there were good people that were there at the party. There were good teenagers who tried to save his life, and just it was too much.
she made her 911 call. But after they left, she says the scene in her neighborhood got even worse.
They were right there with me. How could they have seen that and thought there was nothing wrong here?
And we have all of those 911 calls, more than a dozen that the Queen Creek Police Department released to us right now on our website, azfamily.com. Although I want to give a warning out to our viewers, if you want to go ahead and listen to those, it may be disturbing, some of the contents in them. For now, reporting live in Queen Creek, Zach Perlutsky for Arizona's Family.
Zach. Teen violence.
We're in the neighborhood where there is. We're in the neighborhood.
Teen violence is a
Possum. Yes, it was blunt force trauma. I kept going back and forth on those buttons. They would show up and then they would change right before I would click on them. But blunt force trauma, we can look at one of those articles if we need to, but that was the medical examiner's report, was that Preston Lord died of blunt force trauma in the end.
There's absolutely no reason for a bunch of kids to gang up on another one and do that to them. I mean, if two boys get into a fight or two girls, whatever, break it up. But for a bunch of kids to jump in, and we see that time and time again.
Yeah, and it was a problem in this area. We're going to see on like one of the last videos that I have queued up here that teen violence in this area, in this group of friends, and we're going to have to like discuss what turns a group into a gang. But this quote unquote group of friends, and I'm going to say that it's a gang,
sometimes with these kids, sometimes it feels like with these kids, it turns into mob mentality. You know, once that starts, it's crazy.
And they definitely had been getting there way before Preston Lord was killed. Like they had been diving into other aspects that were of criminal behavior that were maybe gang-like, and the county sheriff, the Pinal County Sheriff, was looking into whether or not it might be considered a gang or gang activity before Preston Lord was killed. But yeah, they definitely got into that mentality, and they did on that night too. On October 28th of 2023, they definitely did.
a major issue ABC 15 is staying on top of for you. We're continuing to push for answers related to the death of 16-year-old Preston Lord. According to Queen Creek Police, Lord was attacked by multiple people without provoking or instigating the situation. And his friends were, quote, just trying to leave and get away from a party that had gone wrong. Tonight, ABC 15 senior investigator Melissa Blasius takes us through those minutes leading up to the deadly attack.
Our timeline is based on Queen Creek Police's investigation after they spent months of looking at social media posts, home surveillance video, collecting DNA, and talking to witnesses. The 1,100-page police report takes you back to a typically quiet Queen Creek neighborhood where a wild backyard Halloween party raged on October 28th. It's estimated more than 100 teens showed up, many in costume, some drinking alcohol.
There must be 30 cars out in front of our house and the neighbors. Bunch of teenage kids doing all, I don't know, they're all running around.
There's too many cars. These kids are going to hit each other. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get killed.
We're now learning Preston Lord was one of multiple partygoers assaulted that night as tensions rose. The first escalating event, a verbal argument between two individuals at the backyard party. Preston and his friends were near the argument, observing it, and someone was recording on Snapchat. Police say that's when suspect Treston Billy confronted the Snapchat poster, whose name has been redacted, demanding he delete the video. A few minutes later, there's a possible physical fight in the backyard between unknown people. That's at 9:46 p.m., where video surveillance shows a large group of people exiting and the adult homeowner walking behind them, then closes the large gate. Out on the street, Preston Billy and his group start following the victim group and taunting them. Based on witness testimony, police believe suspect Dominic Turner snatched a chain off the accused Snapchat poster from earlier, who's part of that victim group walking with Preston. According to witnesses, the chain is passed to Preston Billy, and suspect Jacob Meisner punches that same Snapchatter. The police report said it is believed to be the first punch that is thrown. A friend of Preston's, who's also punched, falls to the ground and his wrist is broken. At that point, everyone started running. Preston and his friends were being chased, and the police report says Preston was punched at least once. He fell to the ground where he is kicked and punched by multiple subjects, which rendered him unconscious.
Queen Creek Police Department, how may I help you?
Police get more 911 calls about 9:49 p.m. saying Preston was jumped, and some teens from the party, trained lifeguards, are performing CPR. According to the police report, Talon Renner, Preston Billy, Jacob Meisner, and William Owen Hines repeatedly struck Preston Lord on the head and body, even after he was unconscious. They are 4 of the 7 people who have now been charged with first-degree felony murder in this case. I'm investigator Melissa Blasius, ABC 15, Arizona.
I tell you what, one of my boys pulled some shit like that, they ain't gonna have to worry about the law, because I'm fixing to lay one on them they ain't never seen, because you don't do that to people. And it makes you wonder where these kids pick up this type of behavior. And from what I've seen on the internet from these grown-ass adults who are messy and sideways, you know, it ain't, apples don't fall far from the trees. But I'm telling you right now, if my boy was involved in something like that, he better be fearing me more than he had the law.
Yeah, that it doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't compute with what most of us think is appropriate behavior. But let's jump down to,
Well, you look at that affluent defense that one kid had, the kid that was 16, whose parents let him live in the mansion alone. He had the big expensive truck and he ran over all those people. And they were broke down on the side of the road. There was like 5 of them standing there, and he ran over and killed almost everybody. And he was 16. His mom and him she tried to leave the country with him. I forget what was his name, but his defense was affluence. He was he was spoiled, basically. Because they were so affluent, you know. It's like, no, just because a child has money and these dumb parents are like, oh yeah, you're 16, you can live alone in one of our mansions, and here's a really expensive pickup truck, drink, party all you want here at this house. So what is wrong with people?
yeah. And
so I heard, so let me ask you this, that last clip you played, it said one of the parents had walked to the, so was one of the parents home during this party, allowing alcohol and the fighting?
It sounds like it to me. That's what I heard.
Maybe Dizzy, yeah. Dizzy, maybe you can answer that question for me.
So I'm going to zoom in on Google Earth onto this area that's in the East Valley. So there is where the party was. Phoenix is over here to the northwest. So this is what you call the Southeast Valley. And this is an area that has been decades ago was traditionally like agricultural, but you can see they made a whole bunch of single family residential subdivisions out of those agricultural communities. And you can see in this particular area where the party was, there are big houses with swimming pools. This was an affluent area. So the police show up. So this is the intersection that they listed as where the memorial was for Preston Lord. So I don't know, and I'm sure I can find out if I need to, but I don't need to, where the actual party was. But there was a big house in an affluent neighborhood, and the police show up and they're like, nothing to see here, move along. Teenagers just having a party. We're just going to let them go. We're just going to let them do their thing. And then we saw from that last clip, there was a group of teenagers that was walking with Preston Lord, and one of them, and so they confronted the Gilbert Goons, or the Gilbert Goons confronted them. Somebody snagged the gold chain off the neck of one of Preston Lord's friends, and he was shoved to the ground, and he actually had a broken wrist from that. And then Preston Lord was assaulted, and we're going to see there's more that happened to him too. But this is, I mean, you can see from the size of the houses and the number of swimming pools in the backyard, this is a fairly affluent neighborhood in the East Valley, southeast of Phoenix. Like, that's Queen Creek. There's Gilbert. Gosh, it's so hard to see the labels on this. All right, let's turn on roads. Anyway, we'll go on with the next one.
Tonight, the 12 News I-Team continues to comb through the more than 1,000 pages, learning more about the Preston Lord murder investigation. The details that we're uncovering are disturbing and shocking.
And this also paints a much clearer picture of just how many Queen Creek police officers have been working this case. Ultimately, they made 7 arrests. Both juveniles and adults are now charged with first-degree murder. The I-Team's Bianca Bono joins us live in studio. And Bianca, what are you learning about each suspect's involvement?
Yeah, guys, our team has been working around the clock to go through all of these records, massive 1,100-page records requests we got back. I first want to point out we don't have all of the evidence that police and prosecutors have, but we're going to lay out what we've gathered from these records about what linked investigators to each of the 7 suspects.
They want to know so they can get that closure.
After 7 suspects were charged in the murder of Preston Lord, 12 News sat down with Queen Creek Police Chief Randy Bryce. Did your investigation show that all 7 of these suspects participated in the attack?
And I wish I could provide everything. So,
Salty, did you hear that?
I did. I was on mute, so I'm cleaning the kitchen, but I am listening, and I did hear that.
I wish I could provide all of that. Where have we heard that before? Where have we heard that before?
Too many cases, but I know where you're going. The Delphi. Doug Carter vibes everywhere.
He's taking a page out of the Doug Carter book. All right, I'm going to back up a little bit, and then I'm going to keep going.
The Doug Carter playbook.
I'm surprised he's not like waving his hands in front of his face, saying it's all going to merge together.
The attack.
and I wish I could provide everything. So that information will come out during trial.
But some of that information we're learning now. 12 News has obtained an 1,100-page police report detailing the investigation into the October 28th deadly assault of the 16-year-old and what led investigators to these 7 suspects. First, 17-year-old Talon Renner. Police say he sent a message the night of the attack to someone saying, "Got in a fight, killed a kid. Guess I don't know my own strength."
Wait.
Don't know my own strength? Wow.
He sent that message on social media. I got in a fight. I killed a kid. I guess I don't know my own strength. Wow.
Can you say confession?
Yes. Yeah. It's not funny, but it's ironic. I'm laughing due to the irony of that. Good grief.
Police say he also posted an audio recording of himself that night stating he killed an expletive. In addition, multiple witnesses and a close friend spoke out to police, alleging Renner punched and stomped Preston multiple times. While 18-year-old Treston Billy refused to be interviewed, police say suspect William Hines told them Billy kicked Preston. And several other witnesses told police they saw Billy involved too, including one person who claims after the suspects ran away from Preston, who was lying on the street, Billy ran back, jumped, and landed on Preston's head, cursing at him. According to reports, when 18-year-old suspect William Hines agreed to speak with police, he admitted to kicking Preston, saying, "I was drunk, heat of the moment. I kicked him one time and I kicked his leg," later saying it could be more like 1, 2, or 3 kicks. The report shows 20-year-old Dominic Turner stole a gold chain off of someone's neck, which was one of the events that led up to Preston's assault. Multiple witnesses telling police someone matching his description was also involved in the assault. Records show 17-year-old Jacob Meisner punched another teen in the back of the head shortly after Turner is accused of stealing the chain necklace, with additional witnesses and friends telling police he then participated in the attack on Preston. Police say multiple people reported a Snapchat message allegedly sent by 17-year-old Talon Vigil reading, "I hit a kid and this kid fell, hit his head, and then they kicked his head in the ground. Then I got word he died, so I don't know."
Ooh. Let's reread that.
Okay.
I hit a kid and this kid hit his head, and then they kicked his head in the ground, and then I got word he died, so I don't know. Yeah, somebody died. Yeah, somebody did. Good grief.
Got word he died, so I don't know, though friends of Vigil told police he was not involved in the fight. And in his interview with police, 19-year-old Taylor Sherman denied assaulting Preston, but admitted that he took a video of Preston being dragged out of the roadway. All 7 suspects have pleaded not guilty.
And through these records, we've learned police were at Talon Renner's school asking him questions less than a week after the attack. And then days later, he starred and played in his high school's football game. We'll have.
This is true. A suspect in a murder case was allowed to go play in a football game at his high school. And
anything there we go. So let me go back. Let me just rant on that for just one freaking second. These kids, just because they play a sport, does not make them above all the other children. They are not overprivileged or highly privileged because they play football. And I've seen this time and time and time again where they are entitled. And I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel about it. You are now being investigated in a murder. You should not be anywhere near that damn football field. You are not suitable to be out there. We're not teaching these kids anything. We're teaching them y'all can go screw up in a major freaking way and still have your way later. I got a problem with that shit. With these high school football players, because all they're trying to do, I know what they're doing. We need them on the team at all costs. No, you don't. If they're a bad child and they've done something, accused of doing something so horrific, sit down for a minute. You got no business on that football field. So, end of rant.
Yeah, football versus a life being taken. I mean, we should put that in perspective, right?
Yeah, we should, but people don't.
You know
That's the problem.
Well, you know what? We learn that. All right, I'm going to go off on my rant now. We learn that from the top down. We learn that from the NFL. We learn that from a certain linebacker that played for the Ravens, who was involved in the death and the murder of people at a Super Bowl in Atlanta. And then he was later inducted into the Hall of Fame as one of the best linebackers ever.
Wow.
We learn that from the top down.
Yeah, and Dizzy says his father donated the money for the field. That's why a coach let him play. You know what? That's ridiculous. You don't buy your way into society, and here's some money, make my kid this, make my kid that. But I feel like that right now the comments are agreeing that he shouldn't have been allowed to go play that game, no matter what. Mm-mm-mm. Overprivileged.
So was Ray Lewis, and I'm just going to say his name right now. He was involved in a murder in Atlanta around the Super Bowl. His people murdered somebody, and he had minimal consequences from that. But all right, that's my rant. That's my Super Bowl rant.
We'll have much more on what we're learning about that coming up tonight at 6. For now, we're live in studio. Bianca Bono, 12 News.
Bianca.
12 News.
All right, Bianca. And what's been really stark is how much of this case and the evidence that's linked to it surrounds around social media. The I-Team's Erica Stapleton is looking into what these teens were sharing on their phones, including messages that shed light on what happened.
That's right. The digital footprint here is really telling and disturbing, something police honed in on right away. And some of these messages are evidence in what ultimately led to those 7 arrests. And a warning, these messages are hard to read.
An admission over text, allegedly from suspect Talon Renner. Got in a fight, killed a kid. Guess I don't know my own strength. Renner messaged after Preston Lord was brutally beat up at a Halloween party on October 28th. This among other messages coming to light in the more than 1,100-page police report released by Queen Creek Police. Many messages sent the very night of Lord's beating. Lord would die from his injuries 2 days later. After the death, Renner allegedly wrote to someone on Snapchat, "Everything is going terrible. I can't talk about it on Snap." Another message allegedly written by suspect Talon Vigil. "I hit a kid and this kid fell. Hit his head, and then they kicked his head in the ground. Then I got word he died, so I don't know."
I'm just going to pause on that for just a second. I hit a kid, and this kid fell and hit his head, and then they kicked his head in the ground. And then I got word he died, so I don't know. I got word he died, so I don't know.
Yeah, so what they don't know is which blow actually caused the fatalness. And they may have to sort that out in court if they don't. It sounds like a lot of kids took a lot of video and different things of that nature that will probably play into the court and these messages and stuff. But whoever was the last one to kick him may be the one to go down for the murder. But sounds like they all had a part in it.
Yeah, and to just be so casual about it.
Yeah,
I got word he died, so I don't know.
Yeah, some of these kids are so immature they don't realize life, and how quickly it can be taken, and then to play around about it like this is insane.
It is.
Oh, a message from another suspect, Jacob Meisner. Delete everything. Vids, text, pics in costume.
There is evidence of consciousness of guilt, right? Delete everything. Vids, texts, pics. Delete everything. Consciousness of guilt. 100%.
Definitely, when you go saying delete everything, there's for a reason. Starting the night of Lord's murder, there was also a group chat involving Taylor Sherman. With redactions, it's not always clear who's writing, and some of the spelling is off. These were some of the messages in it. Talon killed someone with his hands, referring to suspect Talon Renner. Talon hit him once, and he was like dead. Well, if he's dead, it's jail time for you. Someone else wrote, proud, and later.
Whoa. Wow.
Proud?
Wow.
Dude, whoever wrote that better be glad they are not my child right now. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Talon killed someone with his hands. Talon hit him once, and he was like dead. Well, if he's dead, it's jail time for you. Proud. This is sick. This is some sick stuff. Dizzy, I understand why this is one of your pet projects. Now I'm starting to understand why. This is sick. Sick.
Later, I actually think that kid is actually dead. There was a blanket over him, I heard. Why did Talon hit him? They was talking expletive, I guess. The next day, October 29th, just after midnight, Talon hit him once with a laughing emoji. Later that morning, he's on life support right now. I feel bad for the kid, not gonna lie. Kinda sad. Then the day after that, the day Preston Lord died from his injuries. Bro, that kid died.
Hey, these are out. Parents, talk to your kids and continue to keep the Lord family in your prayers as well as the community.
Bridget Vega on a walk supporting Preston Lord's family just hours after this evidence was released.
It's really tragic that all of that is on social media.
Some messages later talk about reward money. Someone writing to suspect Taylor Sherman, "Yo, tell me you didn't delete the video of the dead kid. It's $10K if you give to the Popo." The fight.
Wow.
What the fuck? Oh my God. So look, that right there proves if there was some nefarious things going on over there in Idaho and they were all watching this and that going on their phones, somebody would be having these same type of messages going back and forth between each other. This shit right here is ridiculous for these kids. I'd love to know who all their parents were and how their upbringing's been. I know you can't blame parents for everything kids do, but by God, when you got teenagers, talk. Don't just be their friend. Be their parent and their friend.
Yo, tell me you didn't delete the video of the dead kid. It's $10K if you give it to the Popo. Wow. Oh my gosh.
The fight was also recorded, that video, in police evidence.
We are expecting more evidence to come out at trial. All 17 or young adult suspects are due back in court next month. And again, they've pleaded not guilty in this case. Erica Stapleton, 12 News.
One of the
12 News.
All right, Bianca. And what's been
darn it. This keeps getting deeper. Dizzy, I understand why you're obsessed with this case because it's nuts. It is nuts. These teenagers were just like so crazy. Like texting each other. Salty, what do you think?
I think these kids need to get what they deserve. And at some point, I get, you can't control everything your kids do once they leave that damn front door. But man, start having talks with your kids. Like I discuss this kind of stuff with my kid. And he doesn't even go to big parties. I know where he's at all the time. He's 18, but I still got Life 360. I can see where he's at, and we have talks about stuff like this. If you're ever at a place and something goes down, you're uncomfortable, call me. I'll come get you. If things like this start to happen, do this. I am very open and honest with my kids. This is a real world we live in. It ain't all peaches and cream, and everybody's not good. There are bad people out there. When there's alcohol, drugs, and different things in the mix at a party of youngsters, things can go sideways real quick. We've seen it too many times. So I always take opportunities like this, in cases I cover, to go and have a talk with my child about certain things, because that's really all we can do. I mean, I want to talk to these parents about these kids' upbringings, what they, why are they thinking they're so privileged that they can talk so nonchalantly about killing another child? I mean, I get they don't get the scope of it sometimes because they're so stupid and immature, but you took a child's life and that parent may never recover. That's insane.
Yeah. And I think related to this case specifically, we can see that there were signs leading up to this where the Gilbert goons were doing things and the police were being called to investigate.
So they literally called themselves that? That was like their name?
Yes. And they claimed that it was just like a social media thing, like, oh, we just are calling
Yeah,
ourselves.
whatever. So did their parents not aware their kids were in this little group of people? You know, I mean, you can't police your teenage kids. I get it, 24/7. I get it, I get it, I get it. But have talks with them at the end of the day you're at the dinner table. How was your day? What have you done? Who did you, you know, these are the things. This is why the dinner table time is so important, in my opinion. You learn so much about your kids and what they've done throughout the day at that dinner table. And if you're not taking the time to do that, I don't care if you've got one kid and you're a single parent, park it at that table with that child and find out how their day went. You'd be surprised at what all they open up to you about that you ain't even asked them about. You know, I've been to many parties. One night, my sister and I didn't go to a party. We stayed home because it was during the week and we were just like, whatever. We were watching the 10 o'clock news, which back then was like really not many channels. So we were watching the 10 o'clock news. It was on. There was a party. 13-year-old, no, Angela was almost 15. Angela got shot, died at the party we would have been at. The guy was super tall. Angela was super short. When he pulled the weapon out and turned toward her and shot, it got her right in the head. Thank God we were not there. But that's how fast things can happen. And the guy that did it, we all knew he was a hothead. And I didn't like going anywhere around him because I knew. And, you know, that's the thing. You never know when things are going to happen. And your kid may innocently go to a party thinking it's just going to be a regular party. And some crazy is there with a weapon and drinking too much and things happen. So I always try to take opportunities that I find out of these cases to go and have a conversation with my kid without being like, you know, a lecturing parent. We discuss things.
Yeah, at some point they tune you out when you're just a lecturing parent, but
oh yeah,
but they also need to hear some of that lecture. Like they need to hear it. It has to register.
Yeah,
And
if I approach it more as a conversation versus a lecture, it's always worked out better for me. Like I got 4 kids. My last one, who's 18, 15 years difference between him and the other one. And they're very different children, but my approach has always been the same, like my mom's was. My mom was a very open, honest woman with me. I could go to her with anything under the sun. I don't care what I just did or how bad it was. I could go to her. And we're about to sit down and work this out and figure it out. And that's the way I've been with my kids. You know, I don't care how bad it is, you got to tell me, or whatever it is, you got to tell me, but you can tell me, you know, but you can talk to your kids without being that overbearing, lecturing parent. You know what I mean? There is a fine line you can walk with that.
yeah. And so where is the fine line in this case, in particular, Preston Lord and the Gilbert Goons? Because they definitely were doing stupid shit.
Well, it sounds like to me you had some checked out parents.
Months and months before this, months and months before they killed Preston Lord, they were doing other stupid shit.
Well, okay, so you apparently had some checked out parents, or parents who were trying and the kids just weren't, you know,
right,
going along. And if that's the case, you have avenues you can take to help with that. But sometimes these kids are just ignored and left on their own to do whatever the hell they want. But you can't, you know, it's hard to know because I don't know the situation with these other children's parents. But I'm just saying, I got a feeling there were some checked out parents happening here.
Yeah. Yep. I would not disagree.
Tyler Freeman, 72006.
Tyler Freeman back in court for sentencing Friday after pleading guilty in 2 violent assaults.
No way.
Both attacks happened towards the end of 2022, but charges came earlier this year. As Gilbert police made dozens of arrests in teen violence cases and led a multi-agency investigation into the Gilbert Goons.
The defendant not only was using the brass knuckles, but he appears to be the instigator in all these different offenses, Your Honor. He was the leader of this so-called group.
In court, prosecutors showing video of the violent assaults and displaying Snapchat messages allegedly exchanged between Freeman and friends.
Again, here's a comment about the Gilbert Goons themselves. Tyler, I think we need to just become an official gang already.
Jailhouse calls were also played, which included Freeman.
Their parents absolutely knew what they were involved with. If they were going to court and there was already information out there about this little gang, their parents knew they were involved in that shit.
Right. Yes, they definitely did. And one of the things that disturbs me about these reports is the differentiation between quote unquote group and quote unquote gang. Like, what is the differentiation between those? And we'll see later that one of the mothers of one of the suspects insists on calling it a group and not a gang. And
well, does that go back to being a quote unquote gang? Does that mean you're involved with nefarious, illegal drug type activity, robberies, and all that stuff? Or are you just a group of punks in the street?
Right.
Yeah.
And they absolutely did like take money from people. They would like come up to people in the street and say, give me $20. Will you give me $20 for us not to bother you? So that's robbery. That's assault.
Okay, boy, bring your ass toward me then. Oh my God. They'd have got something they didn't want to know about. Sure enough.
Freeman allegedly talking about violence and threats, also mentioning Preston Lord, the teen who was beaten at a 2023 Halloween party in Queen Creek and later died. ABC 15 did speak with his family before this story aired.
Well, that's what I said, Preston Lord.
Do you see this? Tell that fool I said F Preston Lord. I'm like reading between the lines. That kid's blank. Nah, tell him I said that. I don't really mean it, but tell him I said that. This guy is something else. He's something else.
Tyler, come on. Now tell him I said that. No, don't say that. But I don't really mean it, but just tell him I said that.
Those clips of me speaking doesn't show the change I've made. It doesn't show the remorse.
Those clips that you hear of me speaking, that's not really me.
Yeah, okay.
He is literally trying to say, I didn't mean that. That's not me right now. That was me before.
What, 2 weeks ago? I mean, I'm just being an asshole
exactly.
now, but you know,
Yeah,
you've
no,
changed
exactly.
in 2 weeks. You saw the
Exactly,
light?
yes.
Right, exactly.
Right. No.
Lord, help us all with these kids.
This is some really perverse sociology going on here. Like I'm having trouble grasping it.
The remorse I have.
Freeman's attorney insisting the teen wants to serve the community and be a better person.
When I watched.
The teen's attorney insisting that he wants to serve the community and be a better person. Like that is, wow. There is some sociopathy maybe going on here. I'm not a.
Well, it might be a little too late, son. You might need to go to do some jail time and rehabilitate yourself and then prove yourself once you get out.
But is jail time going to make him worse? Is jail time going to?
Well,
and this is
that's a whole
genuine
other
question.
I understand, and that's a whole other stream because sometimes it does. You'd be amazed at some of these guys that go into jail and see the light and come out and lead a normal, productive, happy life because they learned their lesson. Then you got those who are going to say, nope, we're just going to lean into this and now become career criminals. It all depends on the person, too, I think. Your determination. If you're really remorseful, I've seen it. Even with the guy here that did the DUI and killed the 2 young girls, he was completely 100,000% remorseful. And when he got out of prison, he'd already made friends with one of the victims' mothers. They started going around to all the schools promoting the anti-drinking and driving stuff because that's what had got her daughter killed by him. That you can be rehabilitated in prison and turn your life around. It's not like just because you go, you're going to be there forever. It is totally up to that person. So if he's really remorseful, then he would go do his time, pay for the crime, and when he ever gets out, then prove yourself and do good.
Yeah. Man, this is such a tough case. The deeper we get into it, like the deeper the weeds get.
Watched them. It was embarrassing that I did that to the victims.
The judge asking Freeman several questions before making his decision.
There's a group, the Gilbert Goons. Were you part of them?
No, but
Group, again, using the word group versus gang. And there has to be some kind of a legal differentiation between what is a group and what is a gang. Just saying. In this case, this is like probably one of the primary legal factors that we have to look at.
it was a friend group. It wasn't the Gilbert Goons.
With his sentences running
It was a friend group. It was a friend group that like beat the life out of a 16-year-old, like attacked people and like jerked their gold necklaces off their neck and asked them for money and demanded money from them. That's a friend group. That's a friend group. No,
some friend group, right? Friends like that. Who needs enemies?
With his sentences running concurrently, Freeman will ultimately spend a little over 2 years behind bars.
He should have gotten so much more.
The mother of one of the victims, Dale Jorgensen, feels that's not enough.
Just something different about this situation. And I really worry that as soon as he gets out, that their community is not going to be safe.
William Owen Hines was also arrested for both of these same assaults. Jacob Meisner has already pleaded guilty in the attack on Dale. Both Hines and Meisner are charged in the murder of Preston.
So I just wanted to pause a second on the 7 suspects right here. This is a mixture of juveniles and adults, but all of the juveniles are being charged as adults. Just that's why they were able to be listed in here.
Preston Lord. For Arizona Tonight, I'm Ashley Holden.
Maricopa County judge lowering the bond of 3 suspects in the deadly beating of Preston Lord at a Halloween party in Queen Creek last year.
Total of 7 teens and young adults were charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping this spring. Fox 10's Ashley Rodriguez is live with reaction from Preston Lord's family tonight. Ashley.
Yeah, this is not the outcome that they wanted at all. The suspect's bond was set at $1 million.
So just so you know, that's the Maricopa Superior Court, and that's where also Lori Valodebel's case is being heard. I've been there twice in December for her hearings, and I will be back, but it's the same courthouse, Maricopa Superior.
Each. And by lowering it, Judge Cohen is pretty much allowing them to get out of jail before their trial next year. Now, he said in court he empathizes with Preston's family, but he does not believe that the suspects are a flight risk or a threat to the community.
Excuse me, they are.
The family of Preston Lord.
Say that again.
They are a threat to community and possibly a flight risk. Only because if their parents have money, and like the other boy, his mama took him clean out of the country. So don't tell me they're not a threat to the community if they've already been accused of killing someone and we're running around town extorting people for money so they don't get hurt. Bullshit. I call bullshit.
Yeah.
Walked out of Maricopa County Superior Court Tuesday, defeated in their effort to keep 3 of the suspects accused of severely beating and killing their 16-year-old son last year behind bars.
It's obviously not the result we wanted, as far as they should all be still in jail, and even the ones that are out should all be in jail still.
Talon Renner, Jacob Meisner, and Dominic Turner all had their $1 million bond reduced. Their attorneys arguing the young men were behaving behind bars, and new evidence mitigates just how much they were involved in the Halloween party beating.
We can't be motivated by blind vengeance here. We're here to do justice, and that includes for each individual setting the appropriate release conditions.
The lawyer and family of Preston countered those arguments with outrage, telling the judge the 3 suspects should be considered a threat to the community after they proudly shared the gruesome details of the killing with their peers and in posts on social media.
That he got on top of Preston after he had been knocked to the ground, that he hammer punched him 4 times in the face. He got off of him, watched other defendants hit and kick him while he was lying unconscious on the ground.
Well, Renner, Turner, and Meisner were being led out of the courtroom in shackles past Freeman. They were smirking and laughing as they passed each other.
All right, I'm going to play that part again because that resonates with me from a legal and from a humanistic perspective. So I'm going to play that one more time.
He had been knocked to the ground, that he hammer punched him 4 times in the face. He got off of him, watched other defendants hit and kick him while he was lying unconscious on the ground.
Well, Renner, Turner, and Meisner were being led out of the courtroom in shackles past Freeman. They were smirking and laughing as they passed each other.
They were smirking and laughing as they passed each other. These kids,
They don't get it. They're so immature, or they just think it's whatever, you know? Like
Well,
they have
and
no remorse, no empathy.
at what point do you hold, not necessarily legally, but at what point do you hold the parents responsible for the attitudes of their children with regard to the sanctity of human life?
Well,
Like,
obviously they weren't taught what it was to begin with.
so yeah, so as a society we can hold the parents responsible, but I don't think as a legal system we can.
No, not well. That might be changing. Like with some of
Yeah.
these school,
Yes,
shooters.
the one, right.
They're
The
in
one in
the case.
Wisconsin, the one in Georgia. Yes, the
Yeah, and
parents
the
are
case of
being
the
held
boy who,
responsible.
and the case of the kid who ran over all the people, who was 16, driving drunk, the affluenza kid. Yeah, his parents got in trouble. I mean, at some point, like I know that it's not always a parent's fault their kid goes out and screws up, but when you got a kid that's in a system or in a gang and they're already having problems, and are you doing everything in your power to try to get them away from all that? Are you just ignoring it? Are you checked out? Are you not home? Are you working multiple whatever's going on in your lives? I don't care if you got 15 jobs, your kid is still priority number 1, right? And you just need to have talks. If you got a kid who's cool with running around town doing these things to people, somebody at home's checked out. I'm sorry. There's just no way. I would know if my kid was out there pulling this kind of stunts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's disturbing. It's very disturbing.
Everybody on the internet keeps screaming, "What's wrong with kids today?" Well, look at the parents. Most of them are
No.
bullies on the internet. They'll
No,
come at you
parents
in a
don't have
heartbeat.
anything to do with it. No, what are you saying? No.
Mm-mm. I can't. I got so it was like for a while that's all I kept hearing. What's wrong with kids? Well, I'm watching you adults here on the internet, and I'm telling you, I think I know what's wrong with them. Y'all are what's wrong with
Like
them.
this whole first-degree felony murder charge is just a joke to them.
But Judge Bruce Cohen chose to lower the bond amounts, saying the stipulations around bond release prevent the young men from causing danger. Turner's bond was lowered to 2.
Wait. He just said the stipulations around bond release prevent them from causing danger. In other words, when I let you out on bond, I'm going to stipulate that the conditions of your bond release are that you don't cause danger to the community.
Like that can be guaranteed, right?
Exactly. Like, I told you to not do anything bad, so don't do anything bad.
And how
Don't
many
cause-
times have we heard of people being bonded out of jail or getting a bond, and then within the 12, 24 hours, they went and harmed the person they, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? They commit a
Yes.
crime right after release. Yeah.
Especially violent crimes, domestic violence, assault, and battery happen when people get let out on bond. It happens all the time, especially domestic violence. And this isn't a domestic violence case, but I have a thing with that. Like, somebody comes into court on domestic violence and the judge says, I'm going to let you out on bond, but don't commit further acts of domestic violence. Oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, you said so. Okay, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, stay away from your victim, all these things, and the
Right,
next,
exactly.
the next day it's done. It's a done deal.
Uh,
That's happened here before, where men were released, and then the next day or two she was gone. You know, because they got out.
Yep.
To $250,000, Meisner's to $350,000, and Renner's, who comes from a family with considerable means, to $500,000. This comes after Taylor Sherman, Talon Vigil, and Trustin Billy were released this summer.
They should all be still in jail, and even the ones that are out should all be in jail still.
Now, that trial is expected to start next summer. Now, if these suspects do bail out, they will be under house arrest. They can't be on social media. They will be subject to random drug testing. They have to forfeit.
They can't be on social media. Really? Who is going in there and checking their phones to see if they're on social media or not? I guarantee you that all of these suspects that are out on bond are not getting on social media. I guarantee you.
Well, if they are, I hope they're monitoring it, and if they do, I hope they get right back in jail. They should be monitoring their social medias. If they're going to put that kind of stipulation on them, then you need to be part of their.
Oh no, they're gonna create fake accounts. They're gonna get a fake account. They're gonna get on social media on fake accounts. They're gonna check shit out.
Well, they're not going to be. They're kids. They're going to not be able to refrain from commenting. They'll get caught.
Right. Probably so. Give them enough rope.
Forfeit their passports, and they cannot have any contact with any of the other defendants. And again, the point was made in court that a lot of these suspects come from families with considerable wealth and can easily bail out. Obviously, we'll let you know what happens next.
Tonight, we continue our ongoing.
Okay, so we're going to get into the Gilbert Goons right now. This is the police department. The Gilbert PD knew about these assaults at least a year before Preston Lord was killed. They knew about it well in advance. So we'll watch this.
Ongoing coverage into teen violence in the Valley. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Kariba Devine.
Mark Curtis. Newly released Gilbert records show police were made aware of a group of teens who bragged about committing dozens of assaults in January of last year, months before the death of 16-year-old Preston Lord.
Police say that Lord was beat to death outside of a Halloween party by 7 juveniles and young adults. 12 News journalist Bianca Bono has been following this story for months now. She is joining us live in the studio. And Bianca, what did you find in these newest records?
Guys, this is the report from a violent assault of a teen that happened in December of 2022. I requested this and other reports in December of 2023, and I'm just receiving it now. Gilbert police have long said they either weren't aware of teen violence cases prior to Preston Lord's death, or the cases they were aware of involved different suspects, so there was no way to link them or identify the trend, but these records paint a very different picture. Newly released records show in January of 2023, Gilbert police became aware of social media group chats in which teens allegedly responsible for dozens of assaults in the East Valley bragged about their crimes. Those Snapchat messages happening 10 months before 16-year-old Preston Lord was beat to death outside of an East Valley party. Gilbert Police Chief Michael Solberg has repeatedly stated his department did not have information about most teen violence cases in his community until after Lord's death.
We were aware of the teen violence going on, but in saying that, as I mentioned, it was sporadic. It wasn't the same group of individuals in each incident. As much information is out there now that wasn't available prior to November and December.
The messages stem from a report detailing a vicious assault that happened on December 30th.
Wait. He's claiming that he didn't have information about police department records until after this case became extremely visible in the news.
Yeah, that don't make any sense.
No, let's listen. I got to listen to this one more time. It doesn't make sense. Like the Gilbert PD, I'm just going to say it now. It's not Carroll County Sheriff's Office. It's not Canton, Massachusetts PD, but these guys are a little bit behind the curve.
Well, look, and one thing you got to remember, and I've seen this in other cases where these kids who have parents with lots of money, certain things are done. You know, if these parents have a lot of money, they have a lot of connections. Keep that in mind.
Right. And so the Queen Creek Police Department shows up to this affluent neighborhood with big houses with swimming pools in the backyard. And there's a report of a teen party that's a little bit out of control. And they show up and they're like, we don't see anything, we don't see anything illegal, quote unquote, illegal going on, It's a teen party. We're just going to be cool cops. We're going to be the cool cops and we're going to show up and we're going to knock on the door and then we're going to go away. We're the cool cops. Okay, but Queen Creek PD, there was a teenager that was assaulted and killed right there. So maybe you shouldn't have just showed up and just knocked on the door and then left.
Yeah, Dizzy, do we know what the parents did for livings that were involved with some of these kids? I'm curious to know their community ties and what type of work they were involved with.
Yeah, it was an affluent community. That's all that matters to me right now. I mean, obviously we're going to dive into
I mean, if there were attorneys' sons involved, judges' sons involved, law enforcement. This has happened in other cases. There's a method to my madness, and that's an investigative brain, I guess. But I need to know more about these parents and what their ties to the community were, because I'm telling you, in one of these last cases, the mother had a lot of ties, and they did absolutely all they could to cover everything up for her kid. So that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah, and I honestly think that could very well be going on here. Could very well, due to the affluence of the community. But I want to hear what he has to say one more time.
Aware of the teen violence going on, but in saying that, as I mentioned, it was sporadic. It wasn't the same group of individuals in each incident. As much information.
Salty, we got to get out our word salad dressing today, because I think
Lord,
that's what we're hearing right here.
We need to get you some emojis, dude. I'm gonna create a salad dressing emoji with my channel. I'm gonna do that today. I gotta make me a note. Create salad dressing.
This is word salad. It's not Doug Carter level word salad, but it's up there. It's up there. And a teenager is dead. And he's just creating word salad to cover it up.
Okay, I got my notes.
Information is out there now that wasn't available prior to November and December.
The messages stem from
There's information out there now that wasn't available prior to November and December. Oh, good grief, dude. Good grief. That is not an excuse. It's not.
A report detailing a vicious assault that happened on December 30th, 2022, outside of the In-N-Out. 16-year-old Connor Jarnigan was approached by a group of teens. One demanded money from him, and when he refused, a suspect struck him in the back of the head while wearing brass knuckles. Jarnigan needed staples in his head. One suspect, Tyler Freeman.
Okay, are you seeing this? This is a gang. This is a gang of entitled teenage punks. He needed staples in his neck from an attack
And when
these
these
teenagers.
and what are these parents doing when they kids get into trouble? I know that it's not always a parent's fault, but when they're minors, they're still your responsibility. If my minor goes out and does something, guess what? I'm responsible. I'm going to be the one to get sued. I'm going to be the one to get into trouble.
Well, and you know what? Even if he's an adult, even if my sons, which they are now all adults, do something, I feel a moral and ethical responsibility for what they have done and how I have raised them.
Right. But even when there are large families, you can do everything right and raise your kids all really well.
Yes,
and most of them do
100%.
well and have that one, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's not always a parent's fault, but we're talking about teenagers. And a lot of times when you become an adult, you got to start making decisions, good or bad. The parents of the girl who had the party were sued and it was settled, Dizzy said.
Yes.
Parents
Yep.
covered for them. Yeah. So it was a girl who lived in the home where the house party was thrown. Okay.
Freeman was charged in the case, but the police report detailing the assault shows in the days following the attack, investigators were made aware of multiple individuals openly talking to each other on Snapchat about committing other
Oh, they're gonna
assaults. One
Snapchat.
message reading, "You got extra knuckles? I'm trying to send these kids to the hospital." Other messages in the group chat say, "They are knowing who we all are. Gotta chill on the fighting. They're building a case." 5 incidents with brass knuckles. I think we just need to become an official gang already. But the most...
Oh, did you see that?
Yep.
I think we just need to become an official gang already.
And they knew that the heat was coming down on them and all these other things were happening as well. We got to chill out on the
an
fighting,
official
man.
gang already. But the most shocking, as soon as they find out we are the ones who got into all the fights, we're getting charged with 30+ assaults. Despite possessing these conversations, the Gilbert Police Department wouldn't classify the group known as the Gilbert Goons as a hybrid gang for 17 months, telling 12 News in an email there was no additional evidence of gang activity outside of this Snapchat thread, writing, "A singular vague reference is not sufficient evidence to establish a criminal street gang." 10 months after...
Let's think about that for just a second.
Well, they may not have been a credible street gang, but they were a street gang of overprivileged punks, just as dangerous. And they were already running around town beating up everybody, and y'all knew it.
And now somebody is dead because of it. Now somebody is dead. That's the thing that matters to me. Like, Preston Lord is no longer with us. With his parents, with his family. He's gone. But, that's not sufficient evidence to establish a criminal street gang.
Right.
Establish a criminal street gang. 10 months after police obtained these messages, Preston Lord was killed in a group assault in neighboring Queen Creek. In the wake of his death, amid public pressure, Gilbert police re-examined its previous teen violence cases and made numerous arrests. In response to 12 News questions about this newly released report, a spokesperson saying at the time they received information about the Snapchat messages, they had 6 total reported cases of group teen violence, with 8 arrests having been made in those cases, adding they investigated every case that was reported to them.
Why didn't your department notice the trend of teen-on-teen violence earlier?
We saw some teen violence cases prior to Preston Lord's death. They were sporadic as far as location and time. After Preston Lord was killed, that's when we had a huge influx of information, but that was after Preston was killed.
And Connor Jarnigan's mother, Stephanie, sent me a statement tonight responding to the release of her son's report. She said, in part, "We are disappointed and disturbed after reading through the police report. It clearly shows there were major red flags with this group of teenage thugs who went on to continue to terrorize teens in the East Valley."
So you mentioned that the attack on Jarnigan took place back in December of 2022. How is Connor doing today?
Thankfully, it appears Connor is doing great. He's actually the teen that has really started the movement we've seen advocating for a brass knuckles ban. He even testified at the Capitol this year, and while that bill didn't make it through the legislature, he is committed to pursuing that fight next session. Guys, back over to you.
All right, Bianca, thank you.
Jacob Penny.
Okay, so we're gonna watch an interview now with the mother of one of the Gilbert goons, who is in denial about her sons being involved with the Gilbert goons. So I think it's relevant because we need to show both sides of it, but she puts herself out there, so we can comment on it, right?
Pennington, now the first person arrested to claim association with the group, telling investigators the name Gilbert Goons originated from a Snapchat group chat. Pennington is a name that I have been hearing about for months and have been reviewing videos of his that show criminal activity. This is the booking photo of 20-year-old Jacob Pennington. The Pinell County Sheriff's Office making the arrest Wednesday after this video of an assault in a desert area from November was turned over to investigators.
We determined through our investigation that Jacob Pennington.
Hold on. That's not the right one. We're going to get to the right one. Nope. All right, here we go. That is the right one. Forgot Mark Lamb was in there in the beginning of this. So Sheriff Mark Lamb is the sheriff of Pinal County, not Maricopa County. So that's the adjacent southeast county. And he's actually no longer sheriff because he ran out of re-elections. But they were also investigating this.
20-year-old from Gilbert was one of our main suspects in that. And so this morning we arrested him on that case.
Jacob, accused of not only hitting the 16-year-old victim, but holding him down while others continued attacking. Sheriff Mark Lamb saying more arrests could be coming.
Anybody that watches the video can see there's more than one person involved in this assault.
Court records show Jacob told deputies he was associated with the group, the Gilbert Goons. Currently, the Pinell County Sheriff's Office is one of several agencies across the state investigating whether the group can be classified as a criminal street gang.
State versus Noah Pennington.
Jacob's brother, Noah Pennington, also behind bars for weapons and drug charges. The ABC 15 investigators finding past court records showing Noah was also charged in a violent assault case involving a 14-year-old back in May of 2023. Those court records saying Noah had been involved in multiple shootings and violent crimes in the Gilbert area. The incidents, police say, escalating in frequency and severity.
I don't know why Gilbert PD stated that.
ABC 15's.
This is his mother. This is one of the Gilbert Goons' suspected members' mothers. And the very first thing she says is, I don't know why they say that. In other words, why they accuse him of being a member of the Gilbert Goons. We'll go back.
He stated that.
ABC 15 speaking exclusively Wednesday with the mother of Noah and Jacob Pennington. She says in Jacob's arrest, there is more to the story.
A young woman was hit, and as Jacob turned around and saw her be hit, he just reacted.
Alicia Tidwell claiming
That sounds like an excuse. Not an alibi, not a reason. Sounds like an excuse. I'm just saying that. So I can appreciate the fact that she's going on the news and she's defending her sons and saying that they're not members of the Gilbert Goons and there's really no such thing as the Gilbert Goons. But if you go on the news and you say that, then I can say to you, if your son tells you that he had an excuse to hit somebody, then maybe his excuse is bullshit. Just saying.
Claiming that neither of her sons are associated with the Gilbert Goons.
I truly don't believe there's a Gilbert Goons group.
We're hearing.
I don't believe there's Gilbert Goons group. You know what?
Did they not
lady?
show her proof?
Apparently not. Apparently not. She doesn't believe it.
Right now, today, that Jacob is the first person to self-claim that he is a part of this group and be arrested. What would you tell people that are hearing that?
I don't know where that came from. I don't know why they're saying.
I don't know where that came from. Lady, your son admitted it. He's told people he was with the Gilbert Goons. Oh, good grief. You know what, though? I have a hard time like blaming parents for being cognitive dissonant. Like they don't want to believe that their children are capable of evil and that they did evil. So I don't blame her for this at all. Like, God bless her. She hasn't done anything evil herself. But
if you're
Go
not
ahead.
aware of what your children are doing in the home and on the streets, you are a completely checked out, affluent parent who's probably spending way too much time away from the house, dolling yourself up and doing different things. Pay attention to your kid. And the cops have proof this gang existed and they were running around town running amok. But you don't believe they existed. Okay. Get an attorney, lady, because you're about to need a good one. I don't feel sorry for this lady. And I understand where you're coming from. I do. But when you are so checked out, you're unaware, Jen Soto, of what's going on with your own children. That's a problem. Quit having kids. Sorry. Rant over.
No. You don't have to apologize. So she is responsible at some level, just whether it's ethical, moral, emotional, whatever, for what her kids do. Like we all are. Like I have 4 sons, and I sure as hell don't want to be held responsible for for all of the shit that they get wrong.
Right, I understand that, but when they're
But
minors,
on some level, I am.
Yeah. When they're minors, that's different. My kid is 18 now, and we've had that talk. You're 18 now, son. Do you understand what that means? Mama can't just come bail you out if you got into trouble. He's not in trouble or anything, but I have these conversations with my children. Apparently, these parents don't have many at all with their children. So why are y'all having them? You can cook, so you can go tell the world how you're that, we got money and we both work. We have all these things. We work all day. We can't take care. Choose. If you can't juggle motherhood and a career, choose one.
Well, the fact
Simple as that.
she says, I don't believe the Gilbert Goons exist, tells me all I need to know about her and her belief system and her cognitive dissonance and denial.
That's why I don't feel bad for her, because she
right.
appears to be completely checked out.
Yep. She did check out. She checked out.
Jake self-proclaims to be a part of the Gilbert Goons.
Alicia telling me she has talked to Jacob since his arrest Wednesday morning. Did you ask him about this news, what we learned from Pinell County?
Yes, and he just said that's not what I said.
But according to these court records, Pennington admitted to being associated with the Gilbert Goons. Gilbert police have not.
Wait. Let's rewind that just a minute. Like, let's hear something that is contradictory to what Mama said.
Associated with the Gilbert Goons. Gilbert police have not answered questions to being associated with the Gilbert Goons.
Oh wait, gotta go back further.
But according
Damn
to
it.
these court records, Pennington admitted to being associated with the Gilbert Goons.
Pennington admitted to being associated with the Gilbert Goons. So
Yeah.
don't give me your they don't exist bullshit, lady.
They don't
give me that
exist in her
bullshit.
mind, but in her kid's mind, they damn sure did.
Don't give me that bullshit.
Yep.
Goons. Gilbert police have not answered questions on camera about the group, a group they first denied knowing about. We do know.
Okay. Did you just hear that? The Gilbert Police Department has also denied the existence of the group or gang or whatever the hell you want to call it. The Gilbert Police Department has denied it.
They're
So
having a hard
they're-
time classifying between group and gang is what they're doing. They don't want to classify them as a street gang where drugs are involved in the typical gang activity that we're not used to seeing. They're just a bunch of punks and thugs who call themselves a little group who are a little gang. So they need to just, if they want to come in and get a dictionary and clarify between the two, whatever, but it's the same thing. I get why they keep saying gang versus, little group. If you think gang, you think organized crime type gang, right? And these kids were well on their way to becoming that, sounds like.
Damn.
No, they're continuing their investigations into teen violence in their community and will continue pushing for answers. Back to you.
Back to you. That's literally back to you. And me.
Back to us. Let's see what chat's saying. My grandbaby's asleep. They are a gang. They don't want to call rich kids a gang, right? I mean, get over it, man. There's something, weren't they? They were definitely doing something there. It's just the more you hear about the cases where there's a lot of money involved with the parents and things of that nature, it always feels like there's when cover-ups happen. Maybe not a cover-up, but sweeping things under the rug, looking the other way. Let's not do this and that, But to sit here and deny that you even thought that group existed when your child admitted he was a part of it and the police now have proof it existed. Come on, lady.
Oh my goodness. What are we going to do with these people? What are we going to do?
I have to pick my battles. There's not a lot I can do with them.
Yeah.
Except have conversations with people I care about when I hear of things happening that just are disturbing, and try to get the word, even other parents listening in the background or whatever, it may, it's like I said with the Maddie Soto case, there's just sometimes these cases will bring up talking points where you can make a difference within your own child's life. We may not be able to go out and change what's happening in society, but if you start at home, you've done something. Because when I see parents on the internet, on YouTube, in true crime communities, fighting each other, bullying each other, doxing each other, calling each other names, I have to wonder what your children are like at the house. Because are they seeing what you say and do? Are they following in your footsteps? Are they seeing you be kind and now they're understanding how to be kind? That's the thing. I think everything I do directly affects my children. And I've known that since the day I turned 21 and gave birth to my first child. So I don't want to hear, oh, they're young and don't know no better. I knew better. So I expect others to know better, but I get they don't. And I'd have had the same upbringing I had, different things. But every single choice and action you take as an adult will directly affect your child. Whether you realize it or not, they watch your every little move. They're imitating you. Some of us are doing a jam up job. Some of us are just getting by doing the very best we can. Some are doing very poor jobs at it, obviously. do a parenting stream, Salty. Maybe I should, girl. I got enough experience. No expert by any means. I do not claim to be the perfect parent. My God knows I don't. But I think I've done pretty well. Nobody's been in trouble, and I got 2 of them in their 30s and one 18. And boy, if he can stay out of trouble and he's on the good path. I mean, he's a good kid. But all we can do is pray when they grow up that they do well. You've done your job, and you continue parenting forever. It never stops. And Joe, you know that.
Yeah,
But,
you said do. You said do. You said do
oh,
well.
do. Was that what she said? I had to throw that in there because you're always saying that. Lord, you'd listen. You
Oh,
know what, Sinead? I could do. Somebody made a comment one time. I don't know who it was about. There was a lot of layers to Salty, and there really are. We can get real spiritual type streams going. We can get some parenting stream. We can go all kinds of ways. What do y'all want to talk about? I can talk about a lot of different subjects.
I got 3 boys and
I'll set a poll up, Sinead. Don't worry.
oh no. I got 3 boys in their 30s and 1 still in his 20s, and I'm super proud of that. None of them are dead yet or arrested in jail, etc.
Yeah, be thankful.
Right. All right, let's take a look at one document in Koberger. So,
which one are we looking at?
this was when I went to his land records the other day to look at where his parents had their house. I pulled up a mortgage record. And this is a mortgage record from August of 2022. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's Lambsden Drive, 119 Lambsden Drive. That says Albrightsville. And his dad took out a mortgage for $50,000 on his house on Lambsden Drive in August of 2022. Isn't that when Brian went out to Washington State? So did Daddy buy his tuition to Washington State or take out a mortgage to help pay for his?
Okay, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Read that again, please.
So August of 2022, August 8th of 2022, Michael Koberger, which is Brian Koberger's dad, took out a mortgage on his house in Pennsylvania for $50,000.
It may have been to help with tuition. Because I know that, look, the program that Brian was in at WSU was a very good program. You had to be recommended for the program, which he was out of DeSales. And I don't know if he got any kind of scholarships to go along with that, student loan type deals. I have never seen anything about scholarships, so maybe it was to help pay for tuition, but I don't know. I'm guessing because it is right after he went to WSU. But when you need to pay, it may have been for the next semester tuition. I don't know how that really works out there. It's been many years since I've had to do anything like college, but
honestly, I think that has to do with Brian Koberger going out there as a graduate student. Honestly, that has to. $50,000 on August 8th of 2022.
Yeah.
Doesn't that coincide with Brian Koberger going out there as a graduate student, like almost identically?
Well, he arrived in July or June or July. He arrived in Washington, and
but he has to pay his tuition. He has to pay his tuition in August, which is when the semester begins, right?
Right. So I would assume that was part probably what it was for, was to
Right.
pay for tuition. And maybe he and Brian had a thing worked out where I'll pay you back when I start working, Dad. Who knows? He may just been like, son, go to college, please go to college. You're 28 years old. Go on, finish what you're doing.
Right.
Get out of the house. You've been here for 28 years.
I'll take out a second mortgage. I swear to God,
Yeah.
I'll take out a second
I
mortgage.
mean, I get living with your parents while you're trying to get yourself through school because it's expensive to try to work. But my niece did it. My niece took off 3 hours away, went into a major college, and worked herself right on through that 4 years, and has got a jam up job now. So, but Brian chose to stay at home the entire time he was in college. Okay, I get it, for financial maybe reasons. Not a big deal. A lot of kids do that. I have no problem with that. But by the time he went to WSU, that was literally the first time he ever left home at 28 years old.
Right.
My
And
18-year-old's ready to take off.
if his dad took out a second mortgage on their house on Lambsden Drive for him to be able to go to attend graduate school at Washington State University.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Firefly asked what year was this? Did you get it clarified, Firefly? Did you hear it again when he read it? It was the same, it was August 2022 that the mortgage was taken out. Right, Joe?
Yes. It says
Okay,
right there in the highlighted text.
Yes. Yeah, she sees it now. Okay.
Okay. Good deal. So if he did take out a mortgage in August of 2022 to pay for Brian's tuition, rent, whatever associated with his student cost, being a graduate student at WSU, how important is that relative to his dad flying out to drive back with him in December of 2022 after there's a white Elantra that is a suspect vehicle? He changes the plates. Like it just, honestly, it seems to like coincide to me just a little bit with all of that, with the fact that his dad flew out so they could drive back to Pennsylvania together. $50,000 isn't a lot, but relative to the value of their property, it's probably a good quarter of the value of their property at that point.
Yeah, well, it probably depended on how much he needed for tuition. I mean, as far as how much the loan was he took out, or the mortgage rather. Like I said, I don't know if he got any kind of scholarships because he was recommended for the program, if there was something that went along with that, if he had any kind of student loans out there, I don't know. So yeah, but I feel like it probably did tie into tuition for school. What a waste.
You think?
If he's the guy, I mean, Dad's not probably happy right now. I'm out 50
No.
grand. You barely got through the first semester and ended it with the way you did. If you're the guy, that's crazy.
Yeah. But he has until 2032 to pay it back. So, he can pay it back.
Well, let's hope so.
2032, 10 years, $50,000 over 10 years. Shit, I can't do the math in my head. I got to pull up my calculator.
Firefly, that's what I'm wondering, if his tuition was covered because he was a TA. That I don't know either. We'll have to look into that and see what we can come up with. We'll do some digging.
That's $416 a month. $417. Interesting. Anyway, I found it interesting. I don't know if you guys did.
Oh yeah, it's very interesting. I know people looked up records on them, 2 years ago, but I may not even have paid attention to what they pulled up because it may not have mattered to me at the time. But I don't recall, in Firefly, I don't think either one of us recall hearing about a mortgage being taken out at that time. So it is interesting information, and it is something that a lot of folks probably aren't aware of. So it's always, to take a look at these things. And
yeah, no, tuition as a TA, if you're a TA, your tuition is not 100% covered. Like you do
Okay.
get some credit
You
towards your
get some,
tuition.
right,
Yes.
right.
But
So he probably had some type of scholarship in place, but still needed more money to balance it out.
exactly.
Makes sense
And
because he wasn't going to a, like, you know, it was a pretty expensive program he was in.
well, the fact that it was August of 2022 is what caught my attention. Like,
Yeah.
if it was any other time, any other period, I'd be like, maybe, maybe not. But August of 2022, which is when he went out there, that's highly sus.
I would be more inclined to believe, without any showing me any otherwise, that it's probably to do with tuition of somehow. Because
Right.
Kroberger didn't have a job. I mean, he wasn't able to pay. He had the TA job, you know, and we don't know of any other jobs he had as while he was in school, except for the one he tried to apply with at Pullman and was turned down. But he wasn't like working outside that TA job.
No.
Were they apartments part of student housing? I believe Koberger's, I can't remember if his was technically, it wasn't on campus, was it, Firefly? It was like right off campus. Yeah, Steptoe Apartments were a part of student housing, I believe. We looked at it a long time ago, and I can't remember some of my details, but she is right, and it's called Steptoe Apartments. Easy to figure out, but we'll have to look into that. I can't remember if it was off housing or if it was on. Honestly, I can't remember. I know that the apartments were filled with a lot of students from WSU.
Yeah, and that happens around a lot of campuses as well. Like,
Yeah, it was my niece. Okay, so where she lives, what she does, she started out working in student housing, and then moved into a corporation company. And what this company does is they have a lot of apartment complexes around a lot of major colleges, and they're technically off-campus apartments, right? But they only rent to students. So, you know, just like the King Road house was an off-campus house, but yet there were sorority girls living in it. They didn't live in the sorority houses. So it was an off-campus house. But so I know, especially, and she travels all over the country, actually, not just here in Florida. She's southeast, I would assume. But they do have apartments set up all around the major colleges, and that's what they do. And they're off-campus apartments, but they're geared to rent to the students. See what I'm saying?
oh yeah, that happens in Lafayette, West Lafayette all the time
Yeah.
around Purdue
Yeah.
University.
She's got a
Like,
damn good job, I'm gonna say. She does.
yeah,
They love her at her job, and she loves it. But she works a lot, and but that's what she does, you know. And so because when this case first happened, knowing her college career and everything, I asked her a few questions about off-campus housing and things like that. But I don't like to put stuff out there about my family. So, but yeah, I asked a couple of questions, and it just confirmed, you know, some things that I wanted to know personally. But yeah, I know that there are a lot of off-campus housing that just geared strictly towards students, you know.
yes, there is 100%. Even like when you say off-campus housing, like off-campus can literally be a half block off of campus.
Exactly. Oh yeah, they're right there within, right there. They're going to still be right there, located very nearby. You want to keep them close so that they can get to their classes and and get back and forth to home easily. So that is this company she works for. That's what they do. They have all these apartments right all around these major colleges, and so yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. Like, so
Okay,
around
Sinead.
Go ahead.
She's going to have dinner. Sinead's going to have dinner with the kiddos. So.
Oh no, I want dinner too. Bring me back some dinner. I want a doggy.
A doggy bag. What are y'all having for dinner over there, girl?
But on college campuses, there are what they call slumlords who will own like 200, 300, 400 houses that are around campus and are just like
Yeah.
little pieces of crap. So
yeah,
when you
those
say,
definitely exist.
yeah, when you say it's off-campus housing, it's like, is it one of those, or is it somebody that actually like takes care of their property? Who knows? Who knows? Are you ready, Salty, to go into a little bit of a Delphi rabbit hole?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So this is the
Wait,
state's.
wait. Is
Yeah.
there such
no.
is there such a thing as a little rabbit hole in Delphi?
No,
Okay,
never.
How deep we going, Joe?
They take us 1,000 feet deep every time. This is the state's motion, or the state's response to the defense motion to correct the error. So we all went down that rabbit hole, and Brad Weber's YouTube videos, or the YouTube videos of Brad Weber's van on that drive. And it's actually brought up in here along with a couple of other things that we need to talk about. Now comes the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney Nicholas McClelland, and respectfully objects to the defendant's motion to correct error and would ask the court to deny the same without a hearing.
Bullshit, Nick.
Nick,
Could y'all imagine if the prosecution in Idaho continued to file filings saying and do this without a hearing, judge? No, hell no. Why would you not want the error corrected? Because it's going to show you did something wrong. You would want it corrected, especially if it can, like if Nick feels like they're on the up and up, correct the error and let it go on to appeals and let it work itself out. And then you want it without a hearing? Insane, Nick. Insane.
He would ask the court to deny the same without a hearing. Damn.
No hearing, Nick.
Damn. I want to develop Tourette's. Like I want to have.
We can pretend you have it. Damn it. Damn it, man.
God damn it.
God damn it. That's our conversation from this morning.
Right? Yep. Balin. There's a new show out there that's called like Balin something or other. And she is just like the most adorable ever. But
she really is. And when you mentioned that, I was like, I have seen her. And she's just trying to show people what it's like to live with Tourette's. And
right.
some of the things that she blurts out, it is comical, and she can laugh at herself, she really can. But it's got to be hard to live with, just one time to get away with faking that through life. Like I'm sorry, I got Tourette's. I just blurted it. Maybe I do a little. Shit, I don't know.
What's funny about Balin is that she cracks her boyfriend up too. Like,
yes, she does.
Yeah, like he cracks up, and when both of them crack up, it cracks me up. Like I feel like I feel release. I'm allowed to crack up when both of them crack up. But
yeah, I mean,
sometimes even when she cracks up, I crack up.
Right. So there's a way to look at life, and you can make fun of yourself and also be understanding to your condition and try to educate others. But if we can't laugh at our own selves sometimes, I mean, we need to lighten up.
Yeah. She helps me lighten up. I'm just going to say that. She helps me lighten up. Good. Anyway, the safekeeping order and 6th and 14th Amendments claim that he was deprived of counsel at a safekeeping proceeding. The statute does not require the court to have a hearing to make this determination. Really? The court doesn't have to have a hearing on a safekeeping order. That is a crazy assertion to me. Like, if that is true, that you don't have to have a safekeeping hearing, I'm out. I'm out. Like, our law needs to change. Like, we need to have a new precedent. If you don't have to have a hearing for a safekeeping order, like that makes no sense to me. The court can make this determination based on the motion alone. Wow. So we know that there was a safekeeping hearing held, and neither Richard Allen nor his attorney were present for that safekeeping hearing. And Nick McClelland is saying it doesn't matter. Neither him nor his legal representative need to be present for the safekeeping hearing. That is crazy. That's crazy. Constitutionally, that is... You're going to make me break my New Year's Eve resolution, like right here. I'm going to break it. Almost. I almost did right there. Neither the defendant nor his attorney need to be present for a safekeeping hearing is the most ridiculous argument constitutionally. All right. Paragraph F. After that initial hearing, the defendant was moved to White County due to overcrowding at the Carroll County Jail. Okay. All right. Whatever. That was after the initial hearing was October 28th. So let's highlight that. We're going to highlight that so we can all remember. October 28th, 2022. Highlighted. The defendant entered a plea of not guilty. That was after he was interrogated twice without counsel, and he proclaimed multiple times that he wasn't guilty, was arrested, and entered a plea of not guilty. The court advised the defendant of his right to counsel, and the defendant notified the court that he would hire his own counsel, which he and Kathy did, by the way. They did hire counsel. Eventually, that counsel said, I can't defend you for whatever that monetary amount was because you're accused of murder, and it's going to go a lot deeper than I can handle. On November 3rd, let's go down to this highlighted part. The court granted the sheriff's motion without a hearing. The court granted the sheriff's motion without a hearing. This is Nick McClelland's filing. This is not the defense's filing. This is Nick McClelland's filing. He is the prosecutor for the state. And in paragraph I, he says, on November 3rd, 2022, the court granted the sheriff's motion, and this is the motion for safekeeping, without a hearing.
Yeah.
Are you hearing this? Like,
yeah,
is everybody hearing this?
But we've known that forever. It's just now in a document. We've known for a long time Rick Allen was unrepresented by counsel and never had a hearing about the safekeeping and never had the opportunity to say, I don't want the transfer, which allegedly he would have had. And none of that happened.
This is admitted to in a document filed by Nick McClelland, the prosecutor for the state.
He's slick. Nick thinks he's got the balls so that can do whatever the hell he wants, just like Gull. Nobody stops him. Maybe some of this stuff will come back to bite him in the butt upon appeal. I have given so much energy to McClellan and retired officer, what's his name? They're not getting any more of it. They're just not. I mean, they can be stupid all they want. They can put all this stuff in these court filings that I've already known, that so many of us in the Delphi community have known for a long time, but I'm slap over their asses. Like I'm not going to, you know what I mean? It's just had gotten to the point with Delphi that the same stuff's being regurgitated, and I'm waiting for the appeals process to start. I want to see attorney filings from the appeals process. I want to see what can be brought out during that, because there's enough people out there still, keeping the word out, which is great. Like, I was going to do some Delphi stuff the other day, but I was feeling some kind of way about it, so I decided to wait. And I'm still going to do it, but I needed to get over my being annoyed with Delphi for a minute.
Right. So I'm going to help you get over that. I'm going to help you.
Oh, okay. I'm all for it. Help me, Joe. Help me.
Because this state response is like 50% bullshit and like 40% real. Like they actually have some arguments that we need to pay attention to. But part of the bullshit is nothing is extremely dangerous and put all public servants in a dangerous situation. So they took Rick Allen from the Carroll County Jail to the Westville Correctional Facility, one of the worst state penitentiaries in the Midwest, because, quote unquote, it is extremely dangerous and it puts all public servants in a dangerous situation.
Oh, good Lord. They're just making up shit.
By the insistence on public information. Look right now at this paragraph I that I have pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
But by the insistence on public information, like, you're claiming his life is in danger because people want to publicly know what's going on with this.
Well, yes, because Judge Diener said it was a bloodlust for information from social media. And then it was dangerous. And some YouTuber, it literally did try to dox the judge and Diener, and like he got scared or some shit. But he came out right after the safekeeping order and said all of that. The judge himself said that. That's been out there for a long time. We've known the judge said that. The public's bloodlust thirst for information. Like, dude, y'all just dropped the PCA and arrested the dude. Of course, we're just asking for basic information, but you call it something else because it was social media asking for it. Give me a break. There was a question and comment, not to change the subject, but I'm confused. Trace on the case. Do you mean didn't apply for a job at the police? Are you talking about Koberger? Because he absolutely did try to apply for a job with Pullman Police Department. And it was denied, and a girl got the job. He wanted to help train them on he wanted to work with rural police departments to train them how to better collect and analyze data, like cell phone data, stuff like that, imagery data, stuff like that. Go ahead, Joe.
And he never got the chance to do that.
No, he didn't. He was turned down for the job, from what we understand. There were some emails that came out early on from WSU. I forget where they even came from, but there are articles out there about it. There is receipts out there about it, that he did try to apply for a job at the Pullman Police Department and was turned down, and it was allegedly given to a girl, a female. Did that piss him off? And that was before the incident in November. I'll have to get the verification for all that and put on our next show for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Receipts.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I found doing some research late last night. I had fallen asleep, took that nap after my 7-hour marathon. And then I got up and started doing some research, and I was like, wow, I found this old stuff that I had forgotten about, and I started saving it, and I ran across some interesting stuff. So I'll be bringing that out. And I dropped a little short video this morning on Xana Kernodle, her father, that's interesting. So yeah, we'll keep working on it. But go ahead, Joe. I didn't mean to interrupt with your flow.
No, you're all good. It's all good. We're just looking at this, at Nick McClelland's response. Let's go to paragraph K. The motion for safekeeping is not considered a critical stage of the proceedings. I guess that's subjective to the court. Like the court can figure out what is a critical stage and what's not. Item L, the sheriff had standing to file the motion for safekeeping because although the defendant was moved to the White County Jail, he was a Carroll County defendant. Yeah, we know that, blah, blah, blah. Indiana Code 35.
Even
Go ahead.
after they went to court for the safekeeping, when his attorneys went to court and tried to get that removed and him put back into a county, Cass County said they would take him.
Yes.
And then they still denied it. And they're like, no, we're
Yes.
just going to keep him in prison. We don't care if you can take him. We're just going to keep him right here, which would have been better off for them to move him to Cass County. Then they wouldn't have caught so much flight, but they had an ulterior motive for keeping him in that prison.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I think many people have that opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Indiana Code 3533.11.2 does allow the defendant to request a post-transfer hearing, which is what occurred in this case. Jesus. So they held a hearing without him or his attorney present. They held a safekeeping hearing. They moved him to Westville based on that safekeeping hearing. But Nick is saying right here, there was a post-transfer hearing which occurred in this case, which was held on June 15, 2023. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Do you see that? June 15, 2023.
Well after he was incarcerated into prison.
Yeah, that was
'Cause he was
November,
arrested
December,
in
January,
October.
February, March, April, May, June. 7 months.
He was
7
arrested in
months after he
October.
was-
Because he was arrested a month before Brian
Damn it.
Koberger.
Yes, right. November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. 8 months. Oh, wow. Yes, we gave you a hearing. We gave you a hearing. You were given your defendant's right to a due process hearing. 8 months after he was put in solitary. At
Yeah,
the June 15th. Go ahead.
I was just looking at V's comment. Yeah, once he was transferred, Lesenby didn't have any more authority, but his attorneys went to court and tried to get that order reversed, and they still denied it, you know. But you're right, it wasn't to do with him, nothing he did wrong. He was supposed to be given a choice, but yeah, and he wasn't.
He was not given a choice.
Mm-mm.
He tried to, he and Kathy tried to hire a private attorney, and that private attorney actually contacted Nick McClelland and said, I am Richard Allen's attorney, so let me know what's up with his status hearing. And then eventually Nick McClelland said he's charged with double homicide, and that attorney said, well, I can't represent him for $10,000, so I'm going to back away from the case, or whatever that dollar amount was. But the safekeeping hearing was held without Richard Allen or a legal representative. That's what we know. And in paragraph P, the court found that the defense's allegations were untruthful and not well-founded and denied the motion to modify the safekeeping order. The court further found that the safekeeping order was reasonable. The court further found that the safekeeping order was reasonable and necessary to ensure the defendant's safety and to prevent serious bodily injury to himself. Really? That's such a subjective determination.
Oh, we know they're just blowing smoke because they're so full of it. They're not being even subjective. They're just being shady as shit. Let's just call it what it is anymore with these people. Everything they did from day one of arrest was shady. There's been a lot of men out there accused of harming children. They're not all treated in the same manner Rick Allen was treated. And when I go back to that big question as to why the FBI was kicked out, and I look at the date 2019, and I know 2017 was the murders, and I know what Paul Holes said about the DNA in Delphi and how they did work on it. And did the FBI do an IgG? And when y'all got back to the suspect, y'all were like, oh no, we've already looked at that person. They're cleared by FBI with your damn IgG. Because something caused you to ask them to leave. Something they did or didn't do that you didn't like. Nobody else asked FBI to leave. Doug Carter, you said yourself you did that. So my question is, why? And what showed up on that family tree if they did an IgG? Because I got a video about Paul Holes talking about that complicated IG or DNA out of Delphi. They can just quit lying. And I can't wait for the appeals process to maybe try to bring out some of their lies. And I wish that the defense would do a Tukas, whatever you call that, subpoena, a TUI request, and subpoena the FBI to find out why they were asked to leave. I'd do it upon appeal.
100%.
I want to hear more of Jennifer Auger interview. Do interviews because I like her. I like the way she talks. I take away a lot from her interview, and I would like to see more of her.
Yeah. She was good. She was good.
Yeah, I liked her.
All right. So furthermore, under this Nick McClelland motion or response to the motion by the defense, under both the Sixth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Section 13 of the Indiana Constitution, the right to counsel only applies to critical stages. So this is a good legal argument for me. Like, I literally want to know the in-depth processes of this as it relates to this case and other cases. But as it applies to critical stages of the prosecution where the absence of counsel might derogate from the accused's right to fair trial. Derogate. That seems like a critical word. Did he get a fair trial?
Dressing. No, he didn't get a fair trial. It started the second he was incarcerated into a prison.
Pre-trial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, if this case was reversed and this was Idaho and Koberger went to a state prison, my God, the internet would have burned down.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get no one in Idaho to listen to what was happening in Delphi because they were so convinced Koberger's rights were being trampled all over, and they weren't. They were being met. Those basic constitutional rights were being met while Ricks were being stripped away at every turn. Whether the guy was innocent or guilty, and everybody wants to scream that about Koberger, right? Innocent until proven guilty. Well, so was Rick Allen. Was it proven he was guilty? Really? Not in my opinion, because I watched all the coverage from the trial, and I just drew a different conclusion than I do in Idaho. But the man's rights were stripped from the beginning, and I'm only concerned about his basic human rights under the Constitution. I'm not concerned about you being scared to say the word murder in court versus homicide bullshit like Stefan Stearns. That to me, that's a crybaby little argument there. But your basic rights should always be protected because it could happen to any one of us at any given time.
Right. And the word safekeeping is probably a pretty critical word. Safekeeping, right? In this case, the motion for safekeeping does not touch on.
So, U.S. Libertarian just cracked me up with that comment. Oh my God. Get all up in there, Tukas. Sorry, I'll mute, so if I laugh out loud again, y'all won't know.
Oh no, y'all good. The motion for safekeeping does not touch on matters of guilt, but it kind of does. Or the impact, the ability to have a fair trial. It is a mechanism for housing the defendant in a penal facility pending trial that will keep him safe and others safe. So we need to take him to Westville to keep him safe. The defendant is not facing the advocacy of the prosecutor with respect to his guilt.
And boy, they kept him safe with those Odinist guards, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
You sent him to the one place where you had Odinist guards employed who proudly wore their patches on their uniforms.
And
Listen
then
to your madness.
when they couldn't wear their patches, then they got a tattoo.
Randy Jones, Sergeant Randy Jones, who was never called to testify in the case, and I don't know if that was because that would have brought the third party Odinist defense in or what. He was one of the ones named in the documents holding the camera on Allen as he was moved around cell to cell, moving around. He was we got his affidavit where he was one of the ones videoing him. And he's the one wearing the patch. He's the one that decided to take the patch off and put a tattoo on his face instead. All documented. And he is part of, proudly exhibits his Odinist stuff all over his TikTok. All over it. Him and his girlfriend. They got some sick shit on that. I've seen it all. So come again, Delphi, with your Westvilles for safekeeping.
The defendant is facing the advocacy of the prosecutor. Advocacy of the prosecutor for real? That's what you get. With respect to his guilt or innocence of the criminal charges, it further is not a stage where incrimination may occur or where the opportunity to present a defense to the charge must be seized or forever be lost or impaired. It has been found that the filing of information is not what? It has been found that the filing of information is not a critical stage. The filing of information is not a critical stage. Really? What if it is critical information? What if it has to do with DNA or an unspent round being found or a phone being found under the shoe of one of the victims? That's not a critical stage. It has been found that the filing of information is not a critical stage. Holy shit.
Like
Where are
Possum
we
says,
at
he
on
just
this?
says shit. He's got as good about he's gotten as good as word salad as old Doug.
Oh my God. The probable cause hearing or initial hearing are not critical stages. This is just, oh. This is testing my New Year's Eve resolution not to drop the F-bomb, because this is effery. This is effery. Salty, you want to say it for me? You can say it. I can't say it.
Why are you afraid you'll offend people? Fuck. I mean, I mean, if you just want to be a better person and not cuss no more, great, I get it. But my grandpa comes out in me, and I'm like, I'm a sailor at heart. Salty pirate.
This is effery.
I can be salty sleuth or salty pirate. Which one y'all want today? I am a Gemini. There's two of me. There's two of me in here. At least I can admit it. I can admit it.
This filing, like, is nuts. Since this was not a critical stage of the proceedings, the defendant did not have a Sixth Amendment right to counsel. What? What? What?
Yeah.
Since this was not a critical stage of the proceedings, the defendant did not have a Sixth Amendment right to counsel. Since when is that true?
Prove it. Back it up with some, back that up with some documentation, dude. We're going to find something. Look, that's a ridiculous statement right there. So that means that nobody needs attorneys anymore. You don't need them for less critical stages. I mean, at every stage you are offered and required to have an attorney. That is your right. You don't even got to talk to the cops without an attorney present. You can literally sit there and say, I am zipping my lips, not another word, unless you're going to throw handcuffs on me. And then guess what? I still ain't talking until my counsel arrives, whether that be the old public defender or whatever. Nick, you need to go back to law school, dude.
Wow. God, he tests me at every angle, at every level.
Well, don't let him get under your feathers, man. Right, Lindsay?
All right.
Nick is literally making a joke of what should be every citizen of Indiana's basic constitutional rights, and Galt is just going to sign off on this. Exactly.
All right. This is the case that he cites. So let's look at this in the light of how it applies to Delphi, to seeking justice for Abby and Libby, and also for Richard Allen. Anthony Cooper was convicted of shooting a woman in the thigh and buttocks after missing a shot to her head. U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit overturned the conviction after Cooper claimed ineffective assistance of counsel. Oh, shit. His lawyer told him not to take a plea offer, thinking there would be a finding that Cooper intended to murder the victim, but Cooper was convicted of assault with intent to murder and other charges. The appeals court said the incorrect advice equals unconstitutional ineffective assistance and ordered Cooper released. But Michigan officials argue that Cooper got a fair trial and that the verdict should not be thrown out.
So this is the
This
case
is
that Nick cited
yes. This is the case
about
that
a
Nick cited.
guy who had a lawyer but claimed ineffective counsel.
Yes.
Nick, are you okay out there, dude? Your 1800 laws and stuff come into play next. Oh, Lord, some of these lawyers. Where'd you go to law school, Nick? I like to see what Defense Diaries has to say about that document. Or Lawyer Lee. Maybe she's covered it. I'll have to go look.
Lafler versus Cooper is what he argued. He was not denied the Sixth Amendment right to counsel. Oh my gosh. He is like stretching. He's like totally stretching.
Well, that's what Nick be doing.
All right. Even if this was determined to be a critical stage, any Sixth Amendment right to counsel would be reviewable. Okay. Well, let's put it under review. Let's see what happens. The defense cites United versus Chronic.
Chronic.
As precedent to overturn, but they do so because they misunderstand the case. All right, Nick. That the lack of a hearing, all right, paragraph Y, the lack of a hearing for the safekeeping motion on November 3rd. This is a big one. This is a very big one. And the lack of counsel before the decision was made by the court had no effect on the jury's verdict. Nick.
Okay, Nick.
What he's saying is just because the defendant didn't have somebody to represent him at the safekeeping hearing had no effect on the jury's decision. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Oh my God. Now we get into Brad Weber testimony, due process. So this is actually where I think Nick has some reasonable arguments. So we're getting into the Brad Weber video, the YouTube video of a van that goes around that drive on that day on February 13th. So Nick's argument is that the simple answer that a motion to correct error only applies to newly discovered evidence. So I've always wondered about this. From the defense's own admissions, this is not newly discovered evidence. And this is true. It's not newly discovered evidence. It was provided in discovery.
But not allowed in court. Some of it.
Right. But it's not newly discovered evidence. But rather evidence they have been provided long before the trial. The defense chose not to represent it at trial as a part of their trial strategy, and it was a trial strategy by experienced defense trial attorneys, all facts. Therefore, it is a moot issue because it is not newly discovered evidence. So that's something that even if you agree that we should see evidence of Brad Weber's van, if you should see evidence of whatever newly presented stuff comes about, they had it on discovery, and they didn't disclose it or use it at trial.
It makes you wonder why. Because it's okay. So here's the thing. if it really was out there in the discovery, and the defense knew about that video, and they didn't choose to use that to dispute Brad Weber on the stand, I got big questions for them about that. So I can't take what Nick's telling me that it was always in discovery. When did it come into discovery? Last minute? Did they find it during trial, after trial? I mean, when? And if the attorneys for Rick Allen had it all along and chose not to use it, I don't understand that. Maybe that makes no sense. That absolutely refutes what your witness is saying. So why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't sit on that and be like, "Oh, look, we got video. Weber's van came in way later than they claim it did to disturb Rick, but we're just not going to put that out there." No, I don't buy that for a second. If that's the case, that's ineffective counsel, in my opinion. I slept at a Holiday Inn last night.
Holiday Inn Express. Gotta get
Mm. I stayed on the farm last night. Y'all can believe me, I'm a country girl.
Finally,
Wow.
the testimony by Brad Weber was not the exclusive evidence the state used to convict Richard Allen. Brad Weber was put on the stand multiple times, and the defense had every opportunity to cross-examine him. This is all true. This is all true.
Oh, wait, we got some new True Grit just joined, and All Eyes is here, and All Eyes says it doesn't have to be newly discovered evidence. Kara, and she's speaking of Kara Weinecke, posted about why van video was in the January 30th, 2024 discovery notice. Oh, she's going to DM us Kara's post.
Okay, All Eyes. So this is my question, and this is a fundamental legal question. Like, there can be evidence provided, but at what point does the court consider that quote unquote new evidence in the consideration of some type of court action? Like, what is newly discovered evidence? What
She
is
just
newly
sent you
relevant action?
She says she just sent you the post on the DM, so it's probably on our Twitter DM thread there. And maybe you can pull it up and read that tweet from Kara. If it was in the January 30th discovery, then the Rick Allen's attorneys knew about it all along? Didn't use it? I'm curious to see what Kara tweeted. That's correct. When you get done with this, you can look at her DM.
Yep. It's just, I think in my mind, what I'm struggling with is what is legally relevant. What is legally relevant?
Well, maybe maybe Kara can shed some light on that since she's an appellate attorney. And she's actually one of the ones who fought in the Supreme Court for Rick Allen. She's very well versed in Rick Allen's case. So that's why I would be curious to see her take on this subject. Because it doesn't make sense to me either. If you had it all along and didn't use it, I need to know why. All Eyes is saying, before this filing, I could have told you, but now I'm confused. That's why I deferred to Kara's post. Ha ha ha. All Eyes, you're not confused. Not you.
All right. We'll keep going through this court filing by Nick because it's so awesome. Nick, you're so awesome.
Okay, so Grit just said that she believes that it was found right before trial. Well, I wondered that too, but it's still shouldn't that be enough time to enter it into your evidence? I don't know. Well, I'll check out Kara's post in a minute and we'll see. Go ahead.
There is so much in this. There's so much. We can't go down just like a 5-minute rabbit hole. We have to go down like a 55-minute or 550-minute rabbit hole in this. Oh, good grief.
Well, I'll be honest, a lot of Nick's word salad doesn't impress me, and I'm not even sure I can believe half of what he's in there saying.
No, I believe exactly half of it. That's what I believe. So he has some things that are relevant in there, but he also has some things that are total bullshit. So
Otherwise, I can agree with that statement you just made.
come on. Where are we at? All right. So we are at item D. We're at 3D. 3D. Yes, item 3 is the Ricky Davis claim of a confession by Ron Logan. 3DD, the defense team consisting of 3 experienced defense trial attorneys made a choice not to fully explore or present the Ricky Davis claim, which the defense admits was contained in discovery. So let's talk about that, Salty. Ricky Davis was not brought up in the 3-day hearings that I remember. July 30, 31, August 1 of 2024. I was there for August 1. I wasn't there for July 30, 31. But
so what about him?
Where is this Ricky Davis claim coming from? Are they bringing it out of nowhere, even though they had it in discovery beforehand?
I'm not real sure. I'd have to go back to some of the filings and look through to find out exactly when, but it's to the point where it's like any inmate that writes letters or says anything, they're not going to believe them. They didn't believe this about Ron. They didn't believe the guy over there writing letters on Rick Allen's behalf. They discount all these jailhouse letters from jailhouse inmates. I'm not actually sure when Ricky's not brought up at all. July 30th, 31st says grit. So it wasn't brought up at all then.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure when it was first brought up. You know what I mean? That
So
was the question that True Grit or All Eyes could probably answer better.
Right. So it's a problem. It's a problem if it was a quote unquote jailhouse confession and they didn't bring it up in the third party suspect hearings on July 30, 31, August 1.
Well, we're going to have to schedule a show and get True Grit and All Eyes up here with us. Libertarian, no, they were not allowed to bring up Ron Logan either at trial. James Haas. Nope. That's right. I remember that name, Grit. He had confessions letter too. Never brought up either.
Yeah. Not allowed to be brought up. But
more of that hiding.
How much
big secrets that Ann Taylor talks about are over here in Adelphi.
How much of that is on the defense for not bringing it up? How much do we want to blame the defense for not bringing that up?
It depends on when they had it in discovery and what they decided to do with it. Because I'm telling you, if they had, I honestly can see that they may not have seen some of this until very last minute, or during or right after trial, because they continued to get discoveries from the damn, prosecution was so willy-nilly about it. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt that if you did have this information earlier, some of the Ron Logan stuff, confessions, that may not have been able to come in at all because of the third party stuff. But I just don't know, man. This case has gotten so crazy and Nick and his word salad little filing here just makes me want to, it's kind of like Jay Logston. It's kind of like reading a Jay Logston filing. And Jay Loxon, if y'all don't know, he's one of Brian Koberger's attorneys. I call him Friday Filer.
Hmm.
His favorite thing to do. Yeah,
So,
no, you're good. Your French is good, True Grit. The defense discovery was fucked up. And, you know, Ann Taylor even states that before we started hearing the complaints out of Delphi, she's talking about the massive amount of data dumps they're getting lately. A lot of high profile cases it's not just one or two. Now that we're in a data age world, there's massive dumps with data and tons to go through. And I think they need to come up with a better darn system. And especially if the prosecutions are like, we're going to use this, this, and this, and this, be very specific about what you're going to use and give that, Plus, you got to give all the other stuff and then let the defense go through it and see, that's how they find out things. But there's a lot of dumps being dumped. You know what I mean? A lot of information coming down in these large data dumps from these cases. Missing documents. Yeah, True Grit, right? I don't know.
yeah, I don't know either, because we have Mr. Ricky Davis, who says that he heard Ron Logan confess to killing the girls with specific details that match some of the crime scene details. But then Nick McClelland says, no, they didn't match. They don't match at all.
Well, Nick would know, wouldn't he?
Oh my goodness. Item F, and this is still the state's response to the defendant's motion to correct. So this is Nick McClelland's wording. Even with the alleged information from Ron Logan about the box cutter, there would have not been enough to establish probable cause to arrest Ron Logan.
Why?
So Nick McClelland is weighing in on the probable cause to arrest Ron Logan. Like
Probable
he's
cause
weighing
they were
in
on your
it.
property. There was a confession written about you. The box cutter is already brought up at this point. Did they need evidence from the scene to tie him? Like maybe you should have tested some of that damn DNA y'all didn't test. Maybe you would have found it. I'm gonna get all salty here in a minute.
This case does it. This case makes us all salty. We can't help it. Like box cutter. Like nobody brought up the term box cutter until the state's witness said, oh, I was just out messing around in my garage, and I thought maybe we could attribute a box cutter to these wounds on these girls.
All eyes. So she says a lot of these data reports also require specialized licensed software just to open. I get that, but what I'm saying is, if that's the case, defense attorneys are going to have to adapt to that and start doing it instead of coming in and complaining about all the, because they want all that discovery, but when they get it, they realize how much it is and they start complaining about it. So we got to get a better system in place. And if they need specialized things to access some of this as software and stuff, they better get on it. And if they, ISP, I get it, may have it, but they work for prosecutions. So, and I get that they may not have been enough money for that type of stuff, but oh man, they did some public fundraising for Alan. I'd have done some for that. I got a lot of. I told y'all that's why I didn't do my Delphi show the other day, because I was feeling some kind of way, and I had to just process the way I'm feeling. True Grits apparently learned a little more. You guys going to let me in on that now? Don't tease me.
True
But
Grit.
yeah,
Damn it. We got to do something now. We got to do a thing.
Got to do a thing.
We got to do a thing. This document though from Nick is just like driving me nuts because it's so hypocritical. Like he says, it's like the Nexus thing. Thank you, USA. that the nexus thing is the thing that drives me the most crazy about this, because Nick says that his nexus is different than a third party suspect nexus. Like the nexus for him placing Richard Allen at the scene is different than the defense placing a third party suspect at the scene, which is direct DNA evidence. Like that is literally projected in court on August 1st of 2024. That's literally what he said standing in court on August 1st of 2024. Oh,
All eyes, I'd love to take I'm sorry, True Grit. I'd love to get a look at that notebook, girl. Magnet Axiom costs 60 grand a year just to license. The examiners cost more. Well, they better figure out something. If they're getting all this data and they've got to go through it, I'm not throwing shade at the attorneys at all. I'm just saying something's got to be done. And they need to figure it out.
they have a lot to figure out.
Well, I'm talking,
So,
especially about large data dumps coming into these cases, because this is not the only
right.
case that got that. It's over there in Idaho as well. It's over in Crystal Rogers' case. There's just a lot of information, and that's why Anne's taking so long to go to court, because she's wanting to go through every damn piece of that. She's not waiting. I mean, you know what I mean? She's not trying to rush to get to court because there was so much to go through. Is there anything to any of it other than the actual evidence? Probably not. But she's going through it, according to her.
So Nick goes into the Stacey Eldridge testimony next. So Stacey Eldridge is the defense expert brought along for the electronic forensics. So she's the one that said that the phone could have had somebody plugging in headphones to the auxiliary jack that day. Nick says it shouldn't be relevant because she did not submit a report or log or other information. So in other words, her testimony was not supported by a report.
And Judge Hippler was just talking about that over there in Idaho. They are supposed to have that stuff in there.
A report?
I mean, if you're an expert and you're going to come to the table and testify and bring something to the table, shouldn't you have to verify your work? Shouldn't there be a report? We're all pissed off that they lost reports here and there over there, and these, Doolin losing reports and stuff. Their Vital, all that has to be in place. So there is a protocol that they have to follow. Now, whether Nick's being honest here or not is a different story.
I think he probably is, actually. Because if you look at paragraph E, prior to her testimony, Stacey Eldridge had only done one other forensic phone analysis and had only testified one time prior about a forensic phone analysis. Which that doesn't make you more or less an expert, but it definitely
don't.
Yeah, but if
Well,
you're on the jury,
it's better than, well, let me Google that real quick. Like what's his name did on the witness stand when he was wanting to Google shit.
Cecil.
What's his name? Cecil, yes. At least she wasn't Googling shit.
Right? Oh, Stacey Aldridge only gained the education to be able to testify to forensic phone analysis as recently as 2023. Okay, but she still obtained it, right? Like she's an
Right.
expert.
Yep.
Just because she's young and inexperienced doesn't mean she's not qualified. She can hit that.
Better qualified than most of the prosecution's experts.
Right. And then Trooper Cecil testified that there was a plausible explanation for the log entry that there was dirt or water in the jack that caused a malfunction.
Yes, that is their explanation. That water got in there and that made the phone think something was plugged into it.
Right. And
And
that
people
is
have
a
been
valid,
researching that.
yeah, that is a valid explanation, but there are other valid explanations too, right?
I guess if somebody plugged something into it.
Right? Oh no. Like paragraph J, where this is also based on facts found through the investigation. The phone did not move after 2:32. Do we honestly know with 100% certainty that that phone did not move after 2:32?
No, we don't. Because of their erratic phone records and what all that shows.
But Nick says absolutely as a matter of fact that phone did not move after 2:32, and that's bullshit.
Well, we know what Nick says is bullshit. We heard the testimony at trial and what all that phone was doing throughout the night.
That's not even what Trooper Cecil says. Trooper Cecil is his own witness, and
Well, maybe
Cecil
Mr.
does
Nick
not
will impeach
say.
himself. Hopefully, Nick impeaches himself in some of these documents, and a smart lawyer will jump on it.
Trooper Cecil does not say that phone doesn't move after 2:32. He says we don't have evidence. We don't have geophysical evidence of that phone moving after 2:32. But Trooper Cecil, the state's own witness, doesn't say that phone doesn't move after 2:32. Oh. And Jennifer Auger even asked him about that, like specifically. Oh, what are we going to do with this? Salty, what are we going to do with this? All right. Also in this statement from McClellan, this is also based on facts found throughout the investigation, including the phone did not move after 2:32 p.m., which is not a fact. The fact
It's a
was
fact
not.
in his mind.
It's not a fact that the phone did not move after 2:32 p.m. In fact, there are Apple Health records that state the phone did move after 2:32 p.m. This is actually, oh my God, this is actually a false statement. Like a legally, factually false statement.
Well, like I said, maybe he'll get in trouble. Hopefully.
On February 13th, 2017, there were no headphones found with bodies. Okay, that may be a fact. It's unlikely that someone returned to the crime scene after 2:32. Jesus. He says it's unlikely someone returned to the crime scene after 2:32 p.m. You mean exactly 30 minutes after Brad Weber left the Subaru Suzu plant in Lafayette, which is 40 minutes away? Removed the phone from underneath the body of Abby, plugged headphones into the phone, and then kept those headphones in for 5 hours, unplugged them, and then put the phone back underneath the body. All while not moving the phone. All right. The same analysis that was used in the above evidence concerning Brad Weber and Ron Logan would apply to this evidence as well. It is not newly discovered evidence. Okay, so this is the most valid point that we have to consider, because it is not newly discovered evidence. It was in discovery. And how much of an error is that on the part of the defense to not bring this up during the trial? Salty, what do you think? This is crazy.
Sorry, I had checked on my grandson. He was asleep,
No.
but he had woke up, and I had to go make sure he was okay. He's good.
You're fine. I'm just trying to balance out the evidence versus the evidence that the prosecution has. Like, Nick actually makes a couple of good points in this. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the defense should have brought some things up that they didn't, because it was in discovery.
Mm.
Like, Nick says a couple of times in this document, you guys had this from the beginning, so why are you just now bringing it up? Like, Nick McClelland brings that up, so it's kind of hard to argue against that, right?
Oh. Nick. I don't know. This is, like I said, I had to take a break from Delphi for a minute because this stuff is just crazy insane, and I can't believe they continue to get away with it over and over and over and over and over and over. And it's bothersome, and it got, I'm ready for the appeals process. I want to see filings in that process. Because there's nothing anymore. I mean, keeping the story out there is important for people to those. I don't know who's going to be reached anymore that want to hear anything different than Rick Allen did it. But for those of us who think differently and care, I think we're at a point where, you know, there's still a lot rehashing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we all know every single issue with this case. And then Nick wants to come out and play his word salad little filing here with us. Like, we're just going to be like, oh, okay, we get it now, Nick. No, we don't. You know? So y'all railroaded this man from day one. Now we need to get on with the appeals process. And I hope it just doesn't take forever.
Right. Okay. Well, we've been going at this long enough. I'm going to share a Charlie Beach video and just like fade out. We're going to fade out on a nice.
Aw.
Yep. Hold on. Where are we? Stop screen. Screen. Here we go. This is me and Charlie in Flagler. Just under a minute, but turn up your volume. Just listen to the waves crashing on the shore. Just like get you a Zen moment right here. This is a Zen moment.
Yeah. I go there every day in my head if I can't get there in my car.
Yep. This is a Zen moment. Enjoy it. There you go.
He's so cute. Man, their sand is so different than the Gulf sand.
Yeah. Yes. Flagler Beach, they have the red sand.
Well, we're the only ones with that. We're the only ones blessed with the kind of sand we have anyway, made from clear crystal quartz on the Gulf of where I live. It still says Gulf of Mexico on the map. So that's fun. They ain't changed that yet. That's a fun video though. Did he like the water though, or did he like? I had dogs that did like it, and some that were like, I'm not getting in that.
Well, he's blind, and he's been blind since birth, basically. So he doesn't see it coming in. So that's what bothers him. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate hanging with you.
Yeah. I'll be live in the morning. We're gonna pick up part 2 of our Koberger search warrant deep dive. Still doing that for now.
All right, everybody, jump in there in the morning with Salty. I'll be there.
See what these comments are saying. Thank you, Forrest. Again, thanks everybody for coming in. What are y'all talking about? Oh, talking about sand. Okay, I was reading the comments going, what? Okay, I get it now. Thanks guys for coming in and hanging out with us. We do appreciate it and enjoy your comments as well.
Absolutely. Have a great Monday, everybody.
Bye.